There comes a moment in old age when life stops asking you who is around you and begins asking you who you have become within yourself. This moment is quiet. It does not arrive with thunder. It arrives when the house becomes silent after everyone has gone back to their own lives. It arrives when the phone does not ring for many hours. It arrives when the people you once fed, protected, helped, defended, and loved are busy with their own families, their own problems, their own desires, their own worlds. And in that silence, the mind begins to speak. It says, "Where is everyone?" It says, "After all I gave, why am I alone?" It says, "Why do they not remember me the way I remember them?" It says, "Why does my heart still wait at this age?" And this is where suffering begins. Not because people are absent, but because the mind is still attached to the belief that peace must come from people. This is the hard truth of old age. You may have friends and still feel lonely. You may have children and still feel forgotten. You may have a husband or a wife and still feel unseen. You may sit in a full room and still feel empty inside. Because loneliness is not only the absence of people. Loneliness is the presence of craving. It is the hunger that says, someone must come and complete me. Someone must notice me. Someone must make my heart feel safe. But Buddhism teaches a different path. The Buddha did not teach us to hate people. He did not teach us to abandon love. He did not teach us to become cold, bitter, or distant. He taught us to understand attachment, because attachment turns love into suffering. Attachment says, you must behave as I expect, or I cannot be peaceful. Attachment says, you must visit me, call me, respect me, remember me, need me, agree with me, and stay near me, otherwise I am nothing. This is not love. This is bondage. Real love is gentle. Real love gives without chains. Real love blesses people even when they walk their own path. Real love does not collapse when others are busy. Real love does not become poison when expectations are not fulfilled. In old age, you do not need more people standing around you while your mind remains restless. You do not need a crowd if your heart is still starving. You do not need constant attention if your inner world is still burning with regret, fear, and resentment. You need something deeper. You need a mind that does not panic when alone. You need a heart that does not beg for proof of love. You need a body treated with care. You need a simple life that does not exhaust you. You need purpose that does not depend on being young. You need forgiveness that frees your own chest. You need spiritual practice that becomes your refuge. You need acceptance of impermanence before impermanence teaches you by force. These are the things that make old age peaceful. Not noise, not drama, not control, not emotional begging, not waiting for people to become exactly what you wanted them to be. Because one day, you will realize something very powerful. The people you were afraid to lose were never fully yours. The roles you carried were temporary. The identity you defended was changing every year. The body you trusted is slowing down. The face in the mirror is not the face you once knew. The house is not as loud as it used to be. The future is not as wide as it once appeared. And yet, peace is still possible. Not because life gives everything back to you, but because you finally stop asking life to be what it cannot be. 1. You need a peaceful mind more than a full house. In old age, a peaceful mind is more valuable than a house full of people. This sounds painful to hear because most people spend their lives believing that being surrounded means being safe. They think if their children live nearby, if their friends visit often, if their partner stays close, then old age will not hurt them. But this is not always true. There are people who live with family and still suffer every day. There are elders surrounded by children and grandchildren, yet their heart is heavy because nobody truly listens. There are people married for many decades who still feel emotionally alone because their partner is present in the room but absent in understanding. There are people who receive visitors but after the visitors leave, their mind becomes louder than before. So the question is not, how many people are around me? The real question is, what kind of mind am I living with when everyone leaves? If your mind is restless, every silence will feel like punishment. If your mind is full of old wounds, every small neglect will feel like betrayal. If your mind is trained to expect constant attention, even one missed phone call will become a reason for suffering. If your mind keeps counting what you gave and what others failed to return, your old age will become a courtroom where everyone is guilty and you are always wounded. This is not peace. This is mental imprisonment. A peaceful mind does not mean you never feel sadness. It does not mean you become emotionless. It means sadness visits, but it does not become your master. It means disappointment comes, but it does not take over the whole house of your being. It means people may forget, but you do not forget yourself. It means others may not give you what you hoped for, but you do not destroy your remaining years by drinking the poison of expectation. The Buddha taught that the mind is the forerunner of all experience. A disturbed mind can turn comfort into pain. A peaceful mind can turn simplicity into blessing. This is why two people can live in the same old age, but experience it completely differently. One person has a small room, simple food, few visitors, and yet their face carries calmness. Another has property, family, money, and constant noise, yet their heart burns with complaint. The difference is not outside. The difference is the trained or untrained mind. In youth, people often ignore the mind because life keeps them distracted. There is work, money, children, ambition, romance, comparison, and struggle. But in old age, distractions begin to fall away. The mind that was ignored for decades now sits directly in front of you. If it is full of fear, it will frighten you. If it is full of resentment, it will torture you. If it is full of craving, it will keep demanding. If it is full of wisdom, it will become your companion. This is why you must stop treating peace as something people must deliver to your doorstep. Your children cannot give you a peaceful mind if you keep feeding resentment. Your friends cannot give you a peaceful mind if you keep comparing their attention. Your husband or wife cannot give you a peaceful mind if your heart is still attached to control. Even religion cannot give you peace if you only repeat words but do not examine your own clinging. Peace requires training. Every day, sit with your own mind, not to fight it, but to understand it. Notice what it keeps asking for. Notice what it keeps fearing. Notice which memories still pull you back. Notice which names still disturb your breathing. Notice which expectations still make your chest tight. Do not run immediately to the phone. Do not run immediately into complaint. Do not run immediately into blaming others. Sit and see. This is the beginning of freedom. When your mind says, "They do not care about me," ask gently, "Is this truth, or is this my craving speaking?" When your mind says, "I am alone," ask, "Am I truly alone in this moment, or am I resisting the silence?" When your mind says, "My life is over," ask, "Is my life over, or has one chapter ended?" When your mind says, "No one understands me," ask, "Have I understood myself?" This is not weakness. This is discipline. The untrained mind believes every thought. The trained mind investigates. The untrained mind reacts. The trained mind observes. The untrained mind makes stories. The trained mind returns to reality. A peaceful mind is not built in one day. It is built through small refusals. Refusing to replay the same painful memory for the 100th time. Refusing to turn every silence into insult. Refusing to turn every absence into rejection. Refusing to spend the last years of life begging people to behave exactly as you imagined. You have already lived through many storms. You have seen people change. You have seen promises break. You have seen the body age. You have seen relationships shift. Why, after all this, would you still place your peace in something so unstable? Place your peace where it can be trained. Inside awareness, inside wisdom, inside acceptance, inside the breath, inside the present moment. A full house may become empty, a busy phone may become silent, a loving relationship may change, children may move away, friends may pass away, the world may not revolve around your needs, but a peaceful mind, once cultivated, sits with you like a lamp in a dark room, and in old age, that lamp is more precious than a crowd. 2. You need detachment more than dependence. The second thing you need in old age is detachment. But understand this clearly. Detachment does not mean you stop loving people. Detachment does not mean you become harsh, cold, or careless. Detachment means you stop turning people into the source of your survival. This is where many people suffer. They confuse love with dependence. They say, "I love my children," but beneath that love is a hidden demand. They must live according to my expectations. They say, "I love my husband," or "I love my wife," but beneath that love is fear. Without them, I am nothing. They say, "I love my friends," but beneath that love is hunger. They must keep proving that I matter. This is not pure love. It is love mixed with clinging, and clinging always creates suffering. When you cling to children, their independence feels like betrayal. When you cling to a spouse, their silence feels like abandonment. When you cling to friends, their busy life feels like rejection. When you cling to respect, every small mistake feels like humiliation. When you cling to the past, the present feels like an enemy. In old age, dependence becomes dangerous because life becomes less predictable. People become busy. Children build their own families. Partners may become ill. Friends may pass away. The body becomes limited. The world changes faster than before. If your mind depends completely on external support, then every change outside you will shake your inner ground. This is why detachment is not a luxury, it is protection. Detachment says, "I love you, but I will not make you responsible for my peace." Detachment says, "I welcome your presence, but I will not collapse in your absence." Detachment says, "I am grateful when you call, but I will not poison myself when you do not." Detachment says, "I gave love because giving was my path, not because I purchased future obedience." This is mature love. This is Buddhist love. It is love without chains. Many older people suffer because they keep presenting a bill to life. They say, "I raised them, I sacrificed, I suffered, I gave my youth. Now they owe me." There is some human truth in this pain. Yes, children should be grateful. Yes, family should show respect. Yes, people should not forget those who cared for them. But listen carefully. Even when others should do something, your peace still cannot depend completely on whether they do it. Because if your peace depends on their gratitude, then their immaturity becomes your prison. This does not mean you tolerate abuse. It does not mean you accept disrespect silently. It means you stop making your emotional life dependent on people awakening exactly when you want them to awaken. Some people will never understand your sacrifice. Some will understand too late. Some will love you but show it poorly. Some will be selfish. Some will be trapped in their own struggles. Some will disappoint you without even realizing the depth of your pain. If you keep waiting for perfect recognition, you may spend your remaining years in bitterness. Detachment frees you from this waiting. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to see impermanence clearly. Every relationship is changing. The child who once held your hand becomes an adult with responsibilities. The friend who once sat for hours may now be tired, sick, distant, or gone. The partner who once gave you attention may become quiet, weak, forgetful, or different. Even your own personality changes. Your needs change. Your energy changes. Your emotions change. So why cling to a fixed image of people? Why demand that life remain as it was 20 years ago? The river does not stop because you loved the old water. Detachment is the wisdom to let the river move. It is painful at first because the ego believes letting go means losing. But letting go often means finally seeing clearly. When you detach, you do not lose love. You lose the fear wrapped around love. You lose the demand. You lose the silent punishment. You lose the constant measuring. You lose the exhausting question, do they care enough? And when that question fades, love becomes lighter. You can bless your children without controlling them. You can appreciate your friends without owning them. You can sit beside your husband or wife without demanding that they heal every old wound. You can remember the dead without refusing to live. You can enjoy company without fearing solitude. This is freedom. Dependence says, without you, I cannot be peaceful. Detachment says, with you, I am grateful. Without you, I remain whole. This is not easy. It must be practiced. Start with small things. When someone does not call, breathe before creating a story. When someone visits for less time than you wanted, receive what is given instead of poisoning it with complaint. When your child chooses differently, guide if appropriate, but do not destroy your mind trying to live through their life. When your spouse is silent, do not always assume rejection. When a friend is distant, do not immediately build resentment. Train yourself to release the grip. The hand that clings becomes tired. The hand that opens can rest. Old age is not the time to tighten your grip on people. It is the time to loosen the grip on illusion. The illusion that someone else can complete your inner work. The illusion that your children can return your youth. The illusion that your spouse can erase your fear of death. The illusion that friends can protect you from impermanence. The illusion that attention is the same as love. You need detachment more than dependence, because dependence makes you fragile. Detachment makes you peaceful, and when you become peaceful, your love becomes cleaner. People no longer feel your need as a burden. They feel your presence as a blessing. You stop pulling, demanding and accusing. You become someone who loves deeply but does not imprison. Someone who welcomes but does not beg. Someone who remembers but does not cling. Someone who can sit alone without turning loneliness into identity. That is one of the highest forms of dignity in old age. 3. You need a daily spiritual refuge more than constant company. In old age, you need a daily refuge, not occasional inspiration. Not a thought you remember only when life becomes painful. Not a spiritual idea you repeat but never practice. You need a refuge you return to every single day, because old age without inner practice becomes a battlefield of memory, fear, and regret. A person can survive youth with distraction, but old age demands depth. When the body slows down, the mind becomes louder. When work is gone, memories return. When children leave, old questions rise. When friends disappear, silence expands. When illness appears, fear becomes more intimate. When death no longer feels like a distant idea, the heart begins to tremble. At that stage, entertainment is not enough. Gossip is not enough. Food is not enough. Money is not enough. Family is not enough. You need refuge. In Buddhism, refuge is not escape. Refuge is returning to what is true. It is returning to awareness instead of drowning in thought. It is returning to the breath instead of being dragged by fear. It is returning to compassion instead of bitterness. It is returning to wisdom instead of illusion. Many people wait too long to build this refuge. They spend their strongest years chasing security outside themselves. They chase money, approval, family status, property, reputation, control, and comfort. Then old age comes, and they realize that none of these things can sit inside their chest and calm the trembling mind. A bank account cannot teach you how to face death peacefully. A large house cannot forgive your past. Children cannot breathe for you when anxiety rises at midnight. A spouse cannot enter your mind and remove every fear. Friends cannot walk the final inner path for you. This is why practice matters. You need a daily moment where you stop running from yourself. Sit quietly. Breathe slowly. Observe the body. Observe the mind. Let thoughts come and go. You do not need to perform spirituality. You do not need to impress anyone. You do not need complicated words. You only need sincerity. The breath enters. The breath leaves. This is life showing you impermanence in the most intimate way. Every inhale arrives. Every exhale disappears. You cannot keep one breath forever. You cannot store it. You cannot command it to remain. The breath teaches what life has always been teaching. Everything comes and goes. When you understand this through practice, not only through words, your grip begins to soften. You stop fighting every change. You stop treating every ending as personal punishment. You stop being shocked when people change, when the body changes, when plans change, when moods change, when the world changes. You begin to see that impermanence was never an exception. It was the nature of everything from the beginning. This is refuge. Refuge is the place inside you where truth is allowed. Not the truth you prefer, not the truth your ego likes. The truth that you are aging, the truth that people cannot always be there, the truth that the body is temporary, the truth that memories cannot be relived, the truth that resentment does not punish the other person as much as it poisons you, the truth that craving creates suffering, the truth that peace grows when clinging weakens. A daily spiritual refuge helps you digest these truths without becoming bitter. Without practice, truth feels cruel. With practice, truth becomes liberating. Consider this carefully. The same fact can destroy one person and awaken another. One person says, "My children are busy, so I am abandoned." Another says, "My children are busy, so I must deepen my own refuge." One person says, "My body is weak, so life is unfair." Another says, "My body is changing, so I must become more present." One person says, "My friends are gone, so nothing remains." Another says, "My friends are gone, so I will love what remains more gently." The difference is spiritual training. Your daily refuge may be meditation. It may be mindful walking. It may be chanting. It may be silent breathing. It may be reading wisdom slowly and applying one sentence all day. It may be sitting with tea and refusing to rush the mind. It may be placing your hand on your heart and saying, "This moment is enough. I do not need to fight life right now." The form matters less than the sincerity, but do not make the mistake of practicing only when you are desperate. A refuge must be built before the storm. If you wait until fear is overwhelming, practice becomes harder. Start when the morning is quiet. Start when the mind is only mildly restless. Start before anger grows. Start before loneliness becomes unbearable. Old age rewards what you practiced earlier. If you practiced complaint, complaint will become your companion. If you practiced gratitude, gratitude will sit with you. If you practiced resentment, resentment will follow you. If you practiced awareness, awareness will hold you. If you practiced craving, craving will torment you. If you practiced letting go will become easier when life demands it. This is why today matters, not tomorrow, not when you feel better, not when people behave properly, not when life becomes easier. Today. Sit with the breath today. Release one expectation today. Forgive one small memory today. Stop one complaint today. Bless one person without demanding anything today. Eat one meal with awareness today. Walk slowly today. Listen to silence today. Look at your own mind honestly today. This is how refuge is built, brick by brick, breath by breath, moment by moment. And one day, when loneliness comes, you will not be helpless. You will know where to sit. You will know how to breathe. You will know how to observe the ache without becoming the ache. You will know how to let a thought pass without following it into darkness. You will know how to hold your own heart with compassion. That is worth more than constant company, because company can leave. Refuge remains where practice has planted it. 4. you need health discipline more than sympathy. In old age, you need health discipline more than sympathy. This may sound harsh, but it is true. Many people want others to worry about them, ask about them, serve them, and feel sorry for them, while they themselves neglect the body they still have. This is not wisdom. This is unconscious suffering. The body in old age is not the enemy. It is a tired companion. It has carried you through years of work, pain, stress, family duties, mistakes, pleasures, illnesses, and seasons of survival. It has absorbed emotions you never expressed. It has carried burdens you did not know how to release. It has aged not only with time, but with every worry you repeated, every resentment you stored, every night you refused to rest, every meal you ate without care, every movement you avoided. Now, in old age, the body asks for gentleness and discipline, not punishment, not laziness, not self-pity, discipline. Some people misunderstand compassion. They think compassion means allowing themselves to decline without effort. They say, "I am old now, what is the point?" They stop moving, they stop caring, they eat without mindfulness, they sleep badly. They spend hours in worry. Then they expect everyone around them to carry the consequences. This is not fair to others, and it is not kind to yourself. Buddhist practice does not reject the body. It teaches awareness of the body. The body is impermanent, yes. It will age, weaken, and eventually die. But impermanence is not an excuse for neglect. A flower is impermanent, yet you still water it. A lamp will not burn forever, yet you still protect its flame from the wind. The body will not last forever, yet you still care for it while it is here. Health discipline in old age is spiritual practice. Eating with awareness is practice. Walking gently is practice. Resting properly is practice. Taking medicine responsibly is practice. Keeping the body clean is practice. Stretching stiff limbs is practice. Breathing deeply is practice. Going to the doctor when needed is practice. Not abusing the body with bitterness, overeating, laziness, or constant worry is practice. Why? Because the body and mind are connected. A neglected body often creates a disturbed mind. A disturbed mind often harms the body. When you refuse to care for the body, your suffering increases, and then you may blame life, family, fate, or age. But sometimes the truth is simpler. You have stopped participating in your own well-being. That truth may sting, but it can also wake you up. Do not use old age as an excuse to abandon yourself. You may not be able to run, but perhaps you can walk. You may not be able to walk far, but perhaps you can stretch. You may not be able to stretch much, but perhaps you can breathe consciously. You may not be able to control every illness, but perhaps you can control how you meet it. You may not be able to make the body young, but you can make your relationship with the body wiser. This is where dignity returns. You do not need everyone to pity you. You need to become responsible for what is still in your hands. There is a silent addiction in many older hearts, the addiction to being worried about. It feels like love when people keep asking, "Are you okay? Did you eat? Did you take your medicine? Are you resting?" These questions can be beautiful when they come from care. But if you become dependent on being worried about, you may unconsciously keep yourself weak just to keep receiving attention. Be honest. This happens. Some people do not want health. They want attention. They do not want peace. They want proof that people are concerned. They do not want discipline. They want sympathy. But sympathy cannot replace responsibility. If you truly love your children, do not make your avoidable suffering their permanent burden. If you truly love your spouse, do not demand care while refusing self-care. If you truly respect your own life, do not treat your body like something already dead while you are still breathing. Care for the body not because you fear death, but because you respect life. This does not mean you can prevent every illness. Buddhism is realistic. The body is subject to sickness. The body is subject to aging. The body is subject to pain. The body is subject to death. You cannot discipline your way out of impermanence, but you can reduce unnecessary suffering. You can meet aging with cooperation instead of resistance. You can support the body instead of fighting it. Health discipline also includes emotional discipline. Stop feeding the body with anger every morning. Stop swallowing resentment with your tea. Stop sleeping beside old grudges. Stop making your nervous system relive events that ended years ago. Every time you replay pain, the body responds. The heart tightens. The breath changes. The stomach hardens. The face contracts. The muscles tense. The body does not know the difference between a present danger and a memory you keep making alive. So when you heal the mind, you also help the body. Let your meals become quieter. Let your mornings become slower. Let your breathing become deeper. Let your movements become kinder. Let your words become fewer but cleaner. Let your sleep become sacred. Let your body feel that it is no longer being dragged through endless mental storms. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. In old age, do not chase sympathy. Sympathy is temporary. It depends on who has time, who remembers, who notices, who has emotional space. But discipline is yours. Discipline gives you self-respect. Discipline gives structure to your day. Discipline reminds you that you are still a participant in life, not only a receiver of care. Even if your body is weak, your attitude can be strong. Even if you need help, your spirit does not need to become helpless. Even if others assist you, do not abandon the part of life that is still yours to carry. Old age becomes painful when people demand care but reject responsibility. Old age becomes graceful when people accept help with gratitude and still practice self-discipline with humility. Take care of the body like a monk takes care of a temple, not because the temple is permanent, but because it houses practice today. 5. You need purpose more than attention. In old age, you need purpose more than attention. Attention feels good for a moment, but purpose gives strength to the whole day. Attention depends on others looking at you. Purpose depends on you showing up for life. Many people suffer in old age because the roles that once gave them identity begin to disappear. They are no longer needed in the same way. The children are grown. The workplace has moved on. The family makes decisions without asking as much. The body cannot perform all the old duties. The world does not pause when they speak. Suddenly, the person who once felt important begins to feel invisible. This invisibility can become painful. The mind says, no one needs me now. It says, I am useless. It says, my time has passed. It says, people only remember me when they need something. But look closely. The suffering is not only because others give less attention. The suffering is because the person has lost connection with purpose. Purpose is not the same as importance. Importance says, people must notice me. Purpose says, I still have something meaningful to live today. Importance depends on status. Purpose depends on sincerity. Importance can disappear when applause disappears. Purpose can remain even in silence. In Buddhism, purpose does not have to be dramatic. You do not need to build an empire in old age. You do not need to prove anything to society. You do not need to compete with youth. You do not need to become famous, admired, or constantly consulted. A simple purpose can save the heart. Your purpose may be to become kinder than you were before. Your purpose may be to stop passing pain to the next generation. Your purpose may be to bless your family without controlling them. Your purpose may be to practice patience with the body. Your purpose may be to give wisdom when asked, and silence when not asked. Your purpose may be to care for a small garden, feed birds, support a neighbor, teach a child, read deeply, pray sincerely, meditate daily, or simply become a peaceful presence in a restless world. Do not underestimate simple purpose. A peaceful elder is a blessing. A bitter elder becomes a burden. This is a hard truth, but it must be said. Age alone does not make a person wise. Some people become older but not softer. Older, but not clearer. Older, but more controlling. Older, but more resentful. Older, but more addicted to complaint. They demand respect because of age, but they do not cultivate the qualities that make respect natural. Purpose protects you from becoming that person. Purpose says, I am not here only to be served. I am here to awaken. When you wake up in the morning, do not ask only, who will call me today? Ask, how will I live today so that my mind becomes lighter? Do not ask only, who will visit me? Ask, what can I practice today that will reduce suffering in myself or others? Do not ask only, who remembers me? Ask, what kind of energy do I bring when I am remembered? This shift changes everything. A person without purpose becomes hungry for attention. A person with purpose becomes steady. They do not need constant validation because their day has meaning. They are not waiting helplessly for someone to entertain them. They are not measuring their worth by the number of calls, visits, or compliments. They are living from an inner direction. In old age, your purpose must become less about achievement and more about refinement. Refine your speech. Speak less poison. Speak less complaint. Speak less comparison. Speak fewer words that make others feel guilty for having their own life. Refine your mind. Catch jealousy when it arises. Catch self-pity before it becomes identity. Catch anger before it becomes your normal tone. Catch fear before it becomes control. Refine your heart. Forgive where you can. Release what cannot be repaired. Accept apologies that never came. Stop demanding that the past become different. Refine your presence. Let people feel calmer after speaking to you, not heavier. Let your home feel like a refuge, not a courtroom. Let your face carry the softness of someone who has learned from suffering instead of becoming suffering. This is purpose, not applause, not control, not being the center of every conversation, not making everyone prove your value. Purpose is the quiet decision to keep becoming conscious until your final breath. And this is where old age becomes powerful. Youth often chases the world. Old age can finally turn toward wisdom. Youth asks, what can I get? Old age can ask, what can I understand? Youth wants to become somebody. Old age can discover what remains when the need to be somebody begins to fade. That is not loss. That is awakening. But many people resist it. They try to remain central in the same old way. They interfere in every family matter. They criticize every decision. They use sickness to control. They use sacrifice to create guilt. They use age as a weapon. They say, after all I have done, you must listen to me. And slowly people move away, not because they do not love them, but because love becomes exhausting under control. Do not let this happen to you. Choose purpose over attention. Be the elder whose presence teaches peace. Be the person whose silence has depth. Be the one who has suffered, but does not make everyone pay for it. Be the one who knows that time is short, and therefore refuses to waste it on small bitterness. Be the one who can say, I have lived enough to know that love must be free, speech must be careful, and the mind must be trained. That is purpose. And when you have purpose, loneliness changes. It may still visit, but it does not own you. You have a reason to rise, a reason to breathe consciously, a reason to bless, a reason to learn, a reason to soften, a reason to leave behind not only memories, but peace. 6. You need forgiveness more than old arguments. In old age, you need forgiveness more than old arguments. You do not have enough time left to keep rehearsing every insult, every betrayal, every unfair moment, every sentence someone should not have said. This is not to dismiss your pain. Some things truly hurt. Some people truly failed you. Some wounds were not small, but carrying them forever does not make you powerful. It makes you tired. Old age reveals the weight of unfinished anger. In youth, anger can hide behind activity. You can stay busy, work hard, raise children, earn money, solve problems, and avoid the deeper wound. But in old age, when life becomes quieter, the wound begins to speak. Suddenly you remember things from 30 years ago. A brother who cheated you, a sister who insulted you, a child who spoke harshly, a spouse who neglected you, a friend who disappeared, a relative who used you, a parent who never gave the love you needed. The mind reopens the file again and again. It says, "How could they?" It says, "I will never forget." It says, "They must know what they did." It says, "I was right. Maybe you were right." But being right does not always bring peace. This is one of the hardest lessons. The ego would rather be right and miserable than humble and free. It keeps the argument alive because the argument protects identity. I am the one who was wronged. I am the one who suffered. I am the one who gave more. I am the one they failed to respect. There may be truth there, but if you repeat that identity every day, you become a prisoner of the wound. Forgiveness in Buddhism is not saying the harm was acceptable. It is not pretending nothing happened. It is not forcing yourself to trust someone unsafe. It is not inviting toxic people back into your life. Forgiveness means you stop allowing the past to keep creating fresh suffering in the present. It means the event happened once, but you stop letting the mind recreate it 1,000 times. Some people say, "I cannot forgive because they never apologized." But understand this clearly: if your freedom depends on their apology, they still control your heart. If they never awaken, will you remain trapped forever? If they never admit their mistake, will you carry the fire until your last breath? If they die without saying sorry, will your peace die with them? That is too much power to give another person. Forgiveness is not for their ego, it is for your liberation. You forgive because your remaining years are precious. You forgive because your nervous system deserves rest. You forgive because your heart has carried enough. You forgive because anger has already taken too many nights from you. You forgive because death is coming for everyone, and you do not want to meet it with a chest full of old poison. This does not mean you must speak to everyone again. Sometimes forgiveness is silent. Sometimes forgiveness means releasing someone internally while keeping distance externally. Sometimes forgiveness means, "I no longer hate you, but I will not give you access to harm me again." That is wisdom. Buddhism is not foolish softness. Compassion must include discernment, but do not confuse boundaries with bitterness. Boundaries protect peace. Bitterness keeps the wound alive. Boundaries say, "I understand this person is not safe for me." Bitterness says, "I will keep drinking this anger so I never forget." Boundaries are clean. Bitterness is heavy. In old age, choose clean. Look at the old arguments you still carry. Ask yourself honestly, what has this anger given me? Has it made your body healthier? Has it made your sleep deeper? Has it made your face softer? Has it made your relationships warmer? Has it brought back the years? Has it changed the past? No. It has only kept the pain alive. The mind will resist forgiveness because it thinks forgiveness means losing the case. But life is not a courtroom. You do not need to keep presenting evidence until the end of your life. You can put the file down. You can say, "This happened. It hurt. It was unfair. But I will not let it consume the rest of my journey." That sentence is freedom. Forgive the people who did not know how to love you properly. Forgive the children who were immature. Forgive the parents who gave you their wounds because they did not heal their own. Forgive the spouse who could not understand your inner world. Forgive the friends who left. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you made when you were unconscious, afraid, proud, or wounded. Self-forgiveness matters too. Many older people secretly suffer not because of what others did, but because of what they themselves did or failed to do. They remember harsh words, bad decisions, neglected relationships, money mistakes, parenting mistakes, lost opportunities, times they chose ego over love, times they remained silent when they should have spoken, times they spoke when silence would have been wiser. Regret can become a cruel companion in old age. But regret is only useful if it awakens wisdom. If it only creates self-punishment, it becomes another form of ego. The ego says, "I was terrible." Wisdom says, "I was unconscious, and now I choose to see." The ego drowns in shame. Wisdom learns. The ego freezes in the past. Wisdom changes the present. Forgive yourself, but do not excuse yourself. Learn clearly. Apologize where possible. Repair what can be repaired. Where repair is impossible, live differently now. Let your final years become evidence of awakening. Do not die holding arguments that no longer need you. Do not keep conversations alive with people who have already moved on, changed, forgotten, or passed away. Do not turn your heart into a museum of injuries. Old age needs space. Forgiveness creates space. Space for breathing, space for kindness, space for silence, space for gratitude, space for the present moment, space for love that is not poisoned by yesterday. And when the old memory returns, do not fight it. Bow to it inwardly. Say, "I see you. You were painful, but you are not my home anymore." Then return to the breath, again and again. This is forgiveness as practice. 7. You need simplicity more than possessions. In old age, you need simplicity more than possessions. The world teaches people to collect, expand, own, display, and protect. But as life moves toward its final chapters, the burden of too many possessions becomes clear. What once looked like success can become weight. What once gave pride can become worry. What once seemed necessary becomes clutter around a tired body and a restless mind. Look honestly at life. How many things did you chase that now sit unused? How many objects did you buy hoping they would bring lasting satisfaction? How many clothes, papers, furniture pieces, decorations, tools, gifts, and memories fill spaces but do not bring peace? How much energy is spent protecting things that cannot protect you from aging, sickness, loneliness, or death? Possessions are not evil, but attachment to possessions is suffering. A simple room with a peaceful mind is better than a crowded house with a disturbed heart. A few useful things are better than many things that demand cleaning, guarding, arguing, and organizing. A simple life creates room for awareness. A complicated life keeps the mind busy, even when the body is tired. In old age, simplicity is not poverty. Simplicity is intelligence. It means you stop worshipping what you own. It means you stop measuring your life by objects. It means you stop leaving behind confusion for others to clean after you. It means you begin to ask, what truly serves my peace now? Not, what proves I was important. Not, what will people think? Not, what did I collect out of fear? But, what supports a clear and gentle life? Many people cannot simplify because every object is tied to identity. This furniture proves my status. This jewelry proves my value. This property proves my success. These old papers prove my importance. These gifts prove I was loved. These clothes prove who I used to be. These things are not just things. They are emotional hooks. But Buddhism invites us to see clearly. The self you are trying to preserve through objects is also changing. The person who bought those things is not the same person sitting here now. The body has changed. The mind has changed. The needs have changed. The time left has changed. So why keep carrying the weight of an old identity? Simplicity begins outside, but it deepens inside. First, simplify your surroundings. Keep what is useful, meaningful, and manageable. Release what only creates burden. Do not leave behind chaos because you were too attached to decide. Give while you are alive. Organize while you can. Let go while your mind is clear. This is an act of love for those who may one day handle what remains. Then simplify your schedule. You do not need to attend every argument, answer every call, solve every family problem, or keep up with every piece of news that agitates the mind. Protect your nervous system. Old age requires careful use of energy. Spend it on what nourishes awareness, not what feeds agitation. Then simplify your speech. Many people become trapped in unnecessary talking, complaining, repeating, criticizing, advising without being asked, reopening old stories, comparing generations, discussing other people's mistakes. These words make the mind heavy. Speak less, but speak with more truth. Speak less, but speak with more kindness. Speak less, but speak from awareness. Then simplify your desires. This is the deepest part. Desire says, more, more, more. More attention, more respect, more comfort, more control, more certainty, more proof, more appreciation, more years, more guarantees. But old age teaches that more is not always possible. Peace comes when desire becomes wiser. Ask yourself, what do I actually need today? Often the answer is simple. A calm breath, a clean body, a warm meal, a little movement, a kind word, a quiet mind, a moment of gratitude, a heart free from hatred. This is enough. The ego hates enough. The ego always says, not yet, not this, not here, not like this. But wisdom recognizes enough as a doorway to peace. When you know enough, you stop exhausting yourself. You stop comparing your old age to someone else's. You stop turning every limitation into humiliation. You stop believing happiness is always one more thing away. Simplicity also prepares the heart for death. This may sound intense, but old age becomes more peaceful when death is not treated as a forbidden subject. Death is not a punishment. It is part of the same impermanence that has been present in every breath. Every sunset has been teaching it. Every changing season has been teaching it. Every wrinkle, every goodbye, every fallen leaf, every fading memory has been teaching it. The person who clings to many things fears death more, because death feels like a thief. The person who practices simplicity understands that life was never something to possess. It was something to experience, learn from, and release. You came with empty hands. You will leave with empty hands. What matters is not how much you held, but how much wisdom awakened while you were here. So simplify before life forces simplicity upon you. Let go of objects before they become burdens. Let go of arguments before they become your personality. Let go of roles before they turn into bitterness. Let go of desires that no longer match your season of life. Let go of proving. Let go of impressing. Let go of needing everyone to understand. A simple life is not small, it is spacious. And in that space, the mind can finally breathe. 8. You need gratitude more than comparison. In old age, you need gratitude more than comparison. Comparison is one of the cruelest habits of the mind. It looks at what others have and turns your own life into a failure. It looks at someone else's children, someone else's health, someone else's house, someone else's marriage, someone else's money, someone else's visitors, and then whispers, "Your life is less." This whisper is poison. Comparison does not show you truth. It shows you fragments. You see another elder surrounded by family and think they are happier. You see someone walking strongly and think they have no suffering. You see someone with money and think their heart is peaceful. You see a couple sitting together and think their marriage is perfect. You see someone respected in public and think they are safe from loneliness. You do not know. You see surfaces. You do not see the private mind. You do not see the fears at night. You do not see the family tension behind closed doors. You do not see the illness hidden under clothing. You do not see the regret, the grief, the anxiety, the old wounds, the unspoken disappointments. Every life contains suffering. Comparison hides this truth and creates fantasy. Gratitude returns you to reality, not a fake gratitude that denies pain. Real gratitude says, yes, there is difficulty, but there is also still something here to honor. Real gratitude does not require a perfect life. It requires an awake mind. You may not have perfect health, but perhaps you can still breathe, taste, listen, remember, pray, reflect, or feel sunlight on your skin. You may not have constant visitors, but perhaps you have quiet mornings. You may not have wealth, but perhaps you have enough for today. You may not have the family harmony you wanted, but perhaps you have learned compassion through disappointment. You may not have the strength of youth, but perhaps you have the wisdom youth could not give you. Gratitude is not weakness. It is rebellion against the mind's addiction to lack. The untrained mind always finds what is missing. It can sit in a beautiful moment and search for one flaw. It can receive kindness and complain it was not enough. It can have food and complain about taste. It can have shelter and complain about space. It can have one loving person and complain about the 10 who are absent. This mind will never be satisfied. Do not let it lead your old age. Train gratitude deliberately, not only when you feel blessed, especially when you feel bitter. When bitterness says, "Nobody cares," name one person who has shown care, even imperfectly. When resentment says, "My body is useless," thank one part of the body still serving you. When sadness says, "Nothing remains," notice one breath, one sound, one cup, one memory, one small kindness. When comparison says, "Others have more," say, "Their path is theirs. This moment is mine." This is practice. Gratitude must be practiced because negativity often feels more natural. The mind has repeated complaint for many years. You cannot expect it to become grateful automatically. You must interrupt it, again and again, not with force, but with awareness. In Buddhism, gratitude is connected to interdependence. Nothing in your life exists alone. The food you eat comes from soil, rain, farmers, transport, sellers, cooks, and countless conditions. The clothes you wear came through many hands. The roof above you exists because of people, materials, labor, and time. Even one cup of tea contains the whole world when seen deeply. When you see interdependence, gratitude becomes natural. You realize you have never truly been separate. Even when alone in a room, life is supporting you through countless visible and invisible conditions. Air enters your lungs. The earth holds your body. Past kindnesses shaped your survival. Teachers, workers, strangers, ancestors, and even difficult people have contributed to your awakening. This does not erase loneliness, but it widens the heart. Comparison narrows the heart. Gratitude widens it. Comparison says, "Why not me?" Gratitude says, "Let me see what is here." Comparison says, "Their life is better." Gratitude says, "May they be blessed, and may I be awake to my own blessings." Comparison says, "I am losing." Gratitude says, "I am still breathing, still learning, still able to soften." This shift is not small. It can change your final years. A grateful elder carries beauty, not because their life was easy, but because they stopped demanding that life be flawless before appreciating it. Their face becomes gentle. Their words become warmer. Their presence becomes easier. People feel safe around them because gratitude reduces complaint. Gratitude makes the home lighter. Gratitude turns simple meals into blessings. Gratitude turns silence into rest. Gratitude turns old age from punishment into practice. But comparison makes old age ugly. It creates jealousy toward the young, resentment toward the healthy, bitterness toward the wealthy, anger toward family, and sadness toward oneself. It steals the present moment and replaces it with imaginary lives. Do not let comparison steal what little time remains. Your life does not need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. Your old age does not need to be admired to be sacred. Your path does not need to be easy to be worthy. Even your suffering can become wisdom if you meet it with awareness. Tonight, before sleeping, Do not count only who forgot you. Count what supported you. Count the breath. Count the roof. Count the food. Count the lesson. Count the chance to release one more burden. Count the fact that even now you can choose a different relationship with your own mind. That choice is a blessing. 9. You need wise boundaries more than blind sacrifice. In old age, you need wise boundaries more than blind sacrifice. Many people were taught that love means giving until nothing is left. They gave time, money, energy, forgiveness, attention, labor, and emotional space. They became available to everyone. They carried family problems, solved conflicts, raised children, supported relatives, tolerated disrespect, and swallowed their own needs. Then old age came, and they wondered why they felt empty. The answer is painful but simple. A life without boundaries becomes a life where everyone can take, but few learn to respect. This is not always because people are evil. Sometimes people take because you trained them to take. You said yes when your body meant no. You smiled when your heart was tired. You gave money you could not afford to lose. You allowed disrespect because you feared conflict. You became the rescuer because being needed made you feel valuable. You confused exhaustion with love. Now, in old age, that pattern must end. Buddhism teaches compassion, but compassion without wisdom becomes self-harm. If you keep giving in a way that creates resentment, it is not pure giving. If you help others while secretly hating them for needing you, your help is mixed with suffering. If your sacrifice makes you bitter, it is no longer noble, it is unconscious. A boundary is not cruelty. A boundary is clarity. It says, I can love you, but I cannot carry what is yours to carry. It says, I can help sometimes, but I cannot destroy my health for your irresponsibility. It says, I can listen, but I will not be used as a container for endless drama. It says, I forgive you, but I will not allow the same harm repeatedly. It says, I am old now, and my peace matters too. Some elders feel guilty saying this. They think, if I say no, they will think I am selfish. But ask yourself honestly, who benefits from your guilt? Sometimes people who call you selfish are only angry that you are no longer easy to use. Sometimes people who accuse you of changing are only upset that your awakening interrupts their access to you. Let them be upset. Their discomfort is not proof that you are wrong. In old age, your energy is limited. Spend it wisely. You cannot afford to be emotionally dragged into every argument, every family drama, every financial problem, every complaint, every crisis created by people who refuse to live responsibly. Your remaining years are not a dumping ground for other people's chaos. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you care consciously. If help is appropriate, help. If advice is asked for and useful, give it. If someone is genuinely suffering and you have capacity, offer kindness. But do not confuse kindness with availability to every demand. Do not confuse love with being controlled. Do not confuse spirituality with having no spine. The Buddha's path is the middle way, not selfish isolation, not blind self-erasure. The middle way is compassionate wisdom. Boundaries also protect relationships. Without boundaries, resentment grows. When you give too much, you eventually become angry. When you say yes falsely, your heart starts keeping score. When you tolerate disrespect for years, love becomes contaminated. But when boundaries are clear, love has a cleaner space to exist. You may need to say, I cannot discuss this today. You may need to say, I am not able to give money. You may need to say, please speak respectfully. You may need to say, I have already answered this. You may need to say, I love you, but I will not be pulled into this argument. You may need to say nothing and simply step back. A boundary does not always need a long explanation. In fact, the more you explain to people committed to misunderstanding you, the more they will twist your words. Be calm, be simple, be firm. Old age is not the time to keep proving you are a good person by letting people exhaust you. If your whole identity depends on being needed, then you will fear boundaries. You will feel useless when people no longer depend on you. But this is exactly why purpose must replace attention and wisdom must replace sacrifice. You are not valuable only when you are useful to others. You are valuable because awareness can still awaken through you. You are valuable because your presence can still become peaceful. You are valuable because your life is not merely a service station for everyone else's needs. This realization is not arrogance, it is sanity. Many older people keep giving to adult children who never become responsible. They keep rescuing relatives who repeat the same mistakes. They keep tolerating harsh words because they fear being alone. They keep saying yes because they are afraid love will disappear if they stop being useful. But love that only stays while you are useful is not love you should worship. Let this sentence enter deeply. Being needed is not the same as being loved. Some people need you, but do not respect you. Some depend on you, but resent you. Some take from you, but do not care for you. Some call you only when they want something. If you mistake this for love, you will suffer deeply. Boundaries help you see who values your being, not only your giving. At first, when you set boundaries, some people may leave or become distant. Let that reveal the truth. Do not panic. Do not run after them. Do not immediately surrender your peace to keep false closeness. The people who truly love you may need time to adjust, but they will eventually respect your clarity. The people who only used you will expose themselves through anger. Either way, you gain truth, and truth is better than illusion in old age. Your final years should not be spent proving loyalty to people who drain your spirit. They should be spent refining the mind, softening the heart, caring for the body, practicing gratitude, and preparing for the final letting go. Help where you can, love where you can, give where it is wholesome. But do not abandon yourself in the name of goodness. A lamp that burns all its oil carelessly cannot give light for long. Protect your flame. 10. You need acceptance of impermanence more than fear of losing. In old age, the final and deepest thing you need is acceptance of impermanence. Without this, every change will feel like an attack. Every loss will feel unbearable. Every wrinkle will feel like humiliation. Every illness will feel like punishment. Every goodbye will feel like proof that life is cruel. But with acceptance, impermanence becomes the great teacher. Everything you loved was always changing. Your body was changing even when it was young. Your children were changing even when they were small. Your marriage was changing even when it felt stable. Your friendships were changing even when they seemed permanent. Your home, your face, your strength, your desires, your beliefs, your moods, your memories, your world, all changing. Old age does not create impermanence. Old age reveals it. The problem is not that life changes. The problem is that the mind demands permanence from what was never permanent. This demand creates suffering. You want the body to remain strong. You want children to remain close. You want friends to remain alive. You want respect to remain steady. You want memory to remain sharp. You want the past to remain available. You want time to slow down because you finally understand its value. But life does not obey craving. This is not cruelty. This is reality. The Buddha's wisdom begins with seeing reality clearly, not as we wish it to be, but as it is. Birth leads to aging. Aging leads to sickness. Sickness leads to death. Meeting leads to separation. Pleasure changes. Pain changes. Identity changes. Everything conditioned is unstable. When this is only an idea, it sounds sad. When it becomes wisdom, it becomes freeing. Because if everything is changing, then you do not need to cling so tightly. If everything is changing, then pain is not permanent either. If everything is changing, then loneliness is a passing state, not your final identity. If everything is changing, then resentment can dissolve. Fear can soften. The heart can open. Even at the end of life, awakening is possible. Acceptance does not mean you enjoy loss. It means you stop adding resistance to loss. When the body hurts, resistance says, "This should not be happening." Acceptance says, "Pain is here. Let me meet it wisely." When someone leaves, resistance says, "They must come back for me to be okay." Acceptance says, "Separation is painful, but I will not turn pain into bitterness." When death approaches, resistance says, "I cannot face this." Acceptance says, "This too belongs to the nature of life." This is not passive. It is courageous. It takes courage to stop lying to yourself. It takes courage to admit that no relationship can protect you from impermanence. It takes courage to love people fully while knowing you cannot keep them. It takes courage to care for the body while knowing it will one day fail. It takes courage to smile at a morning that will never return. Old age can become sacred when you stop fighting the truth. Every day becomes more precious because it is not guaranteed. Every conversation becomes softer because it may not happen again. Every meal becomes meaningful because the senses are temporary. Every breath becomes a teacher because it arrives and leaves without asking permission. This is how impermanence deepens love. When you know people are temporary, you stop wasting time on small pride. You apologize sooner, you listen better, you complain less, you hold moments gently. You stop assuming there will always be another chance. You stop postponing kindness. You stop turning every disagreement into war. Impermanence also deepens detachment. You love, but you do not cling. You participate, but you do not possess. You receive, but you do not demand forever. You let people be human. You let life move. You let the past pass. You let the future remain uncertain. And slowly, fear becomes less sharp. Many people fear old age because they see it only as loss. Loss of youth, loss of beauty, loss of strength, loss of importance, loss of independence, loss of companions. But old age can also be the loss of illusion, the loss of unnecessary ambition, the loss of needing approval, the loss of pretending, the loss of chasing people who do not value your peace, the loss of fighting battles that were never worth your mind. Not every loss is punishment. Some losses are openings. When noise leaves, silence opens. When roles fade, being opens. When people are absent, self-understanding opens. When the body slows, mindfulness opens. When the future shortens, presence opens. When death becomes visible, truth opens. The question is whether you will enter these openings or spend your final years knocking on closed doors. Do not wait for life to remove everything before you learn to release. Practice now. Release one complaint. Release one old identity. Release one expectation from your children. Release one demand from your spouse. Release one comparison with another person's life. Release one object you no longer need. Release one fear into the breath. Letting go is not done once. It is done until the final exhale. At the end, nobody can carry your attachments for you. Not your friends, not your children, not your husband, not your wife. They may sit near you, they may hold your hand, they may cry, they may love you deeply, but the inner letting go is yours. This is why old age must become practice. Do not waste it in bitterness. Do not spend it begging for attention from people who are also suffering in their own way. Do not turn love into chains. Do not turn memories into prisons. Do not turn the body's aging into hatred. Do not turn silence into proof that life has abandoned you. Instead, gather the 8 things that truly matter: a peaceful mind, detachment, a daily spiritual refuge, health discipline, purpose, forgiveness, simplicity, gratitude, and around them place wise boundaries and acceptance of impermanence, because these protect all the rest. Then old age becomes different. You may still have pain, but you will not be only pain. You may still feel lonely sometimes, but loneliness will not define you. You may still miss people, but missing will not become bitterness. You may still need help, but needing help will not destroy your dignity. You may still face death, but death will not steal the meaning of this breath. This is the quiet victory of Buddhist wisdom. Not that life becomes perfect, not that everyone returns, not that the body becomes young again, not that the past is rewritten. The victory is that your mind no longer bows to every craving. Your heart no longer begs every person to complete it. Your peace no longer depends on the world behaving exactly as you imagined. You become inwardly free. And when an old person becomes inwardly free, they carry a beauty that youth cannot imitate. Their face may be wrinkled, but their presence is clear. Their body may be slow, but their speech is careful. Their house may be quiet, but their heart is not empty. They may have fewer people around, but less craving within. They may own less, but suffer less. They may be closer to death, but more awake to life. This is what you need in old age. Not more people to distract you from yourself. Not more control over children. Not more proof from friends. Not more emotional dependence on a husband or wife. You need the kind of wisdom that can sit alone and not feel abandoned. You need the kind of love that can bless others without chaining them. You need the kind of mind that can watch life change without turning every change into suffering. So when the room becomes quiet, do not be afraid. When the phone does not ring, do not immediately wound yourself. When people are busy, do not shrink into bitterness. When the body slows, do not hate it. When memories rise, do not drown. Return to the breath. Return to awareness. Return to gratitude. Return to what is still here. This moment is not empty. It is asking you to awaken. And if you can awaken now, even in old age, then nothing has been wasted. Not the pain, not the losses, not the silence, not the years. Everything becomes part of the path. The final years are not only an ending, they can become the clearest chapter of your life. And this clearest chapter does not begin when life becomes easy. It begins when you stop demanding ease before you become wise. It begins when you finally understand that the conditions you were waiting for may never come, and yet awakening is still available. Maybe your family will not become as attentive as you hoped. Maybe your children will not suddenly understand every sacrifice you made. Maybe your spouse will not become emotionally gentle in the way you once needed. Maybe your friends will not return. Maybe your body will not become strong again. Maybe the house will remain quiet. Maybe some apologies will never arrive. Maybe some doors will remain closed. But none of this has the power to close the door of awareness unless you close it yourself. This is where many people lose their final years. They keep waiting for life to become fair before they allow themselves to be peaceful. They say, "When my children treat me properly, then I will calm down." They say, "When my relatives admit what they did, then I will let go." They say, "When my health improves, then I will be grateful." They say, "When someone understands my pain, then I will stop suffering." But this kind of waiting is dangerous because it gives the key of your inner freedom to people and conditions that may never change. If your peace begins only after others change, then your peace is not yours. It is borrowed. It is fragile. It is hostage. Buddhist wisdom asks you to take the key back, not with anger, not with pride, not by saying, "I need nobody." That is just another form of ego. Real freedom is quieter than that. It says, "I welcome love, but I will not wait for perfect love before I become peaceful." It says, "I welcome care, but I will not make the absence of care an excuse to poison my mind." It says, "I welcome understanding, but I will not destroy myself because others cannot see the full story of my heart." It says, "I welcome company, but I will not run from the sacred work that silence is asking of me." Silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes silence is life giving you back to yourself. For many years you may have belonged to everyone except yourself. You belonged to your duties, you belonged to your work, You belong to your children's needs. You belong to the expectations of family. You belong to society's idea of success. You belong to fear, comparison, obligation, reputation, and survival. You woke up and immediately entered the noise of other people's demands. You slept with unfinished worries. You lived as though your worth depended on how much you could carry. Now old age comes and removes many of those roles, and the mind panics. It says, "Who am I if I am not needed?" It says, "Who am I if nobody depends on me?" It says, "Who am I if I am not strong, useful, busy, respected, consulted, admired, or surrounded?" But this panic is not a curse, it is an invitation. Life is asking you to discover the part of you that was present before all roles and remains after all roles fade. This is not the personality. This is not the name. This is not the family position. This is not the body's appearance. This is not the praise people gave you or the criticism they threw at you. This is awareness itself, the quiet knowing that sees thoughts come and go, the silent presence that notices pain without being only pain, the inner witness that can observe loneliness, fear, regret, anger, and memory without becoming completely swallowed by them. When you learn to rest in this awareness, old age begins to change its meaning. You are no longer only an old body moving toward death. You are a conscious being learning the deepest lesson of release. You are no longer only a parent waiting for children, a spouse waiting for affection, a friend waiting for calls, a person waiting for recognition. You are a practitioner standing at the edge of impermanence and choosing to meet it with dignity. That is not a small thing. That is the very heart of the path. Every wrinkle can become a teaching. Every pain can become a bell of mindfulness. Every quiet evening can become a meditation hall. Every goodbye can become a reminder to love without delay. Every disappointment can become a place where attachment is seen more clearly. Every loss can become a teacher saying, "Do not cling here. This was never yours to hold forever." Most people hear this and think it is sad. But it is only sad to the part of the mind that wanted to possess what cannot be possessed. To wisdom, this truth is merciful, because if nothing can be possessed, then nothing needs to be guarded with such terror. If people are not yours to control, you can love them more gently. If the body is not yours to keep forever, you can care for it without hatred. If time cannot be stopped, you can stop wasting the present moment arguing with time. The pain of old age is often not change itself. It is the refusal to bow to change. A tree does not scream when autumn comes. It releases. It does not say, "These leaves were mine, they must stay." It does not hate the wind for touching what was already ready to fall. It does not compare itself to spring. It does not demand that nature reverse the season. It stands, rooted, bare, quiet, and honest. There is dignity in that. There is wisdom in that. And in time, what looks like loss becomes preparation for another form of life. You too must learn the dignity of autumn. Do not keep trying to live as though you are still in spring. Spring had its beauty, but it also had its ignorance. Youth had energy, but it also had impatience. Youth had strength, but it also had arrogance. Youth had desire, but it also had confusion. Do not worship youth as though it was perfect. Many people were younger but not peaceful, stronger but not wiser, more attractive but more insecure, busier but less awake, surrounded by people but empty within. Old age has its own sacred work. It asks you to become truthful. It strips away decoration. It shows what remains when performance becomes exhausting. It asks whether you truly believe the things you said you believed. It asks whether your spirituality is real or only words. It asks whether your love is free or full of demand. It asks whether you can forgive before the body has no more strength to carry anger. It asks whether you can be grateful before the final breath teaches you how temporary everything was. Do not answer these questions with theory. Answer them with your life. When someone disappoints you, answer with awareness. When the body aches, answer with patience. When the mind remembers old pain, answer with compassion. When loneliness comes, answer with presence. When fear of death rises, answer with truth. When regret visits, answer with learning, not self-punishment. When people do not behave as you wish, answer with detachment, not bitterness. This is how old age becomes a living practice. And you must be honest about fear. Do not pretend you are beyond fear if you are not. Fear of death, fear of abandonment, fear of becoming dependent, fear of being forgotten, fear of illness, fear of losing memory, fear of losing control. These fears are human. Buddhism does not ask you to deny them. It asks you to observe them deeply. The fear says, I want certainty. But life never promised certainty. The fear says, I want to keep what I love. But love was never ownership. The fear says, I want this body to remain. But the body was always a changing process. The fear says, I do not want to disappear. But the self you are trying to protect has been changing every moment. Look deeply at the self you are afraid of losing. Where is it exactly? Is it the child you once were? That child is gone, yet something continued. Is it the young adult full of dreams? That person changed, yet experience continued. Is it the parent carrying responsibility? That role shifted, yet awareness remained. Is it the face in old photographs? That face faded, yet here you are. What you call me has never been one fixed thing. It has always been a stream. Body, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, arising and passing, moment by moment. When you see this, not as philosophy, but as living truth, fear loosens. You realize death is not the destruction of a solid, permanent self, because such a self was never found. What we call life has always been movement, conditions, causes, effects, appearances, disappearances. The wave rises and falls, but the wave was never separate from the ocean. This does not mean you will never grieve. It means grief can be held inside a wider understanding. This is why meditation matters in old age. Meditation is not decoration, it is preparation. It teaches you to watch arising and passing directly. A sound appears and disappears. A sensation appears and disappears. A thought appears and disappears. A mood appears and disappears. An itch, a pain, a memory, a fear, a desire, a breath, all moving, all changing, all ungraspable. Each sitting becomes a small rehearsal for the great release. Each breath says, let go. Each exhale says, you cannot hold even this. And still there is peace. Not because nothing disappears, but because you stop fighting the disappearing. This is a level of peace many people never discover because they are too busy demanding permanence. They keep trying to arrange life so that nothing shakes them. They want money to remove fear, family to remove loneliness, medicine to remove death, reputation to remove insecurity, possessions to remove emptiness. But no arrangement can remove the truth of impermanence. You cannot build a house strong enough to keep change outside. Change enters through the body, through relationships, through time, through memory, through breath. So the wise person does not spend the final years trying to defeat change. The wise person learns how to live with change without losing the heart. This is why your final years must become simpler, deeper, and cleaner. You cannot carry everything anymore, and you were never meant to. Carry less. Speak less poison. Repeat fewer stories. Defend fewer identities. Chase fewer people. Expect less from those who are not able to give. Demand less from the body. Demand less from the past. Demand less from the world. Not because you are defeated, but because you are finally intelligent about suffering. There is a peace that comes only after you stop negotiating with reality. Reality says, the body ages. You say, yes, I will care for it gently. Reality says, people change. You say, yes, I will love without chains. Reality says, some wounds cannot be repaired by others. You say, yes, I will heal what I can within myself. Reality says, death is certain, timing is uncertain. You say, yes, I will not waste this day. Reality says, nothing can be held forever. You say, yes, I will hold lightly. This yes is not weakness. It is the end of useless war. For decades, the mind may have been saying no to life, no to aging, no to disappointment, no to loneliness, no to illness, no to people's limitations, no to the past, no to silence, no to death. And every no created resistance. Every resistance created tension. Every tension created suffering. Acceptance is the sacred yes that does not mean you like everything, but means you finally stop burning your remaining energy, fighting what is already here. When old age is met with this kind of acceptance, even ordinary moments become profound. Washing your hands becomes a meditation on the body. Drinking water becomes gratitude for conditions. Sitting near a window becomes contact with the changing sky. Hearing a familiar voice becomes a temporary blessing, not a possession. Eating slowly becomes respect for life. Waking up becomes not a routine, but another chance. Another chance to soften, another chance to release. Another chance to stop repeating the same suffering. Another chance to become lighter before you leave. And this is important. Do not think it is too late. The mind may say, I am already old. I wasted my life. I should have practiced earlier. I should have forgiven sooner. I should have understood these things when I was younger. But this thought, if believed too strongly, becomes another trap. Yes, perhaps you could have awakened earlier. Many people could have. But the only moment where awakening is possible is now. Regret about not practicing before can either become another chain or a bell that wakes you up today. Do not use regret as an excuse to remain asleep. If you have 1 year, practice for 1 year. If you have 1 month, practice for 1 month. If you have 1 week, practice for 1 week. If you have 1 day, practice for 1 day. If you have 1 breath, practice with that breath. Awakening is not measured by how many years remain. It is measured by how completely you meet this moment. There are people who live 80 years unconsciously, and 1 moment of true seeing changes the quality of their heart. There are people who spend decades in resentment, and 1 sincere letting go releases a burden they thought was permanent. There are people who believed they were alone, then discovered that awareness itself can hold loneliness with tenderness. There are people who feared death their whole life, then near the end, something softens because they stop pretending they were in control. So do not say, too late. That is laziness disguised as sorrow. Begin now. Begin with the next irritation. Begin with the next lonely evening. Begin with the next memory that hurts. Begin with the next time you want to complain. Begin with the next time your child does not call. Begin with the next pain in the body. Begin with the next breath that enters without your permission and leaves without your control. The path is not somewhere else. It is exactly here. Old age is full of small gates to awakening, but most people walk past them because they are busy arguing with life. A missed call is a gate. It can lead to resentment or detachment. A body ache is a gate. It can lead to self-pity or compassion. An old memory is a gate. It can lead to bitterness or forgiveness. A quiet room is a gate. It can lead to loneliness or meditation. A fear of death is a gate. It can lead to panic or deep inquiry. Every moment asks, will you suffer unconsciously or will you wake up here? This is the choice. Not once, repeatedly. You will not always choose wisely. Accept that too. Some days you will complain. Some days you will feel abandoned. Some days you will be angry at the body. Some days you will miss people so much that wisdom feels far away. Some days you will remember the past and feel crushed by what cannot be changed. Do not use these days as proof that you have failed. They are part of practice. The important thing is to return. Return without drama. Return to the breath. Return to kindness. Return to truth. Return to the simple recognition. This is a passing state. I do not need to build a permanent identity from it. That one sentence can save you from many unnecessary storms. Sadness is a passing state. Anger is a passing state. Fear is a passing state. Loneliness is a passing state. Even joy is a passing state. If you understand this, you stop worshipping moods. You stop thinking every feeling is a command. You stop saying, I am lonely, as though loneliness is your entire being. You learn to say, loneliness is present. This is different. One imprisons you, the other gives space. I am angry becomes anger is present. I am afraid becomes fear is present. I am forgotten becomes a thought of being forgotten is present. I am dying becomes this body is changing and fear is present. This shift is not wordplay. It is liberation. You are no longer fused with every mental event. You become the one who sees. And when seeing becomes steady, suffering begins to lose its authority. In old age, you must become very careful about the stories you believe. The mind is a storyteller, and not all its stories are true. It takes one event and builds a world. One child forgets to call, and the mind says, nobody cares. One friend does not visit, and the mind says, I have been abandoned. One pain arises, and the mind says, everything is finished. One mistake from the past appears, and the mind says, my whole life was wrong. These stories are not wisdom, they are habits. Do not let an untrained mind narrate your final years. Question it. When it says, nobody cares, ask, is that absolutely true, or am I hurting right now? When it says, my life was wasted, ask, was every moment wasted, or is regret coloring everything? When it says, I cannot be peaceful alone, ask, have I truly practiced being alone, or have I only feared it? When it says, death is terrifying, ask, what exactly am I afraid of losing, and was it ever permanent? A mind that is questioned becomes less tyrannical. A mind that is believed blindly becomes a dictator. This is why awareness is more important than opinion in old age. You may have many opinions about family, society, younger people, politics, religion, money, marriage, and how life should be. But opinions do not free you. Sometimes they harden you. Awareness frees you because awareness sees how opinions create suffering when held too tightly. You may be right about many things, but if being right makes you bitter, proud, and isolated, then your rightness has not served awakening. Be willing to release the need to win every inner argument. Old age does not need more arguments. It needs clarity. You do not have to correct everyone. You do not have to respond to every disrespect. You do not have to prove every memory. You do not have to force your wisdom into ears that are not open. Sometimes silence is not defeat. Sometimes silence is the highest expression of strength because it protects the mind from useless fire. But silence must be clean. Do not use silence as punishment. Do not sit quietly while hatred grows inside. That is not peace. That is hidden violence. True silence is spacious. It does not rehearse revenge. It does not wait for others to feel guilty. It does not secretly curse. It rests in understanding. It says, this does not need my energy. It says, may I not add more suffering. It says, may this moment pass without becoming another wound. This is the silence of practice. And when you speak, let speech become medicine. In old age, words carry weight. A few harsh words can wound a child or grandchild for years. A few wise words can guide someone long after you are gone. Do not waste your remaining speech on constant complaint. Do not become known only for criticism. Do not make people afraid to sit near you. because every conversation becomes a list of disappointments. Speak truth, but do not make truth a weapon. Speak correction, but not from ego. Speak pain, but not to manipulate. Speak love while there is time. Many older people say, they should know I love them. Maybe they should, but pride has stolen too many last chances. Say it simply, not as a demand, not as a bargain, not as a way to make people stay. Say it because life is impermanent. Say, I love you. Say, forgive me. Say, I forgive you. Say, I am grateful. Say, I was wrong. Say, I am proud of the good in you. Say, take care of your heart. Say the words that release knots, not the words that tighten them. Do not wait until the funeral to become honest. Impermanence should make your love more immediate, not more fearful. If someone matters, do not bury love under stubbornness. If there is repair possible, do not let ego delay it. If there is kindness to offer, offer it while the hand can still move and the voice can still speak. But if someone does not receive it, release that too. Your responsibility is sincerity, not control over the outcome. This is another deep lesson. You can complete your side of peace even when others do not complete theirs. You can apologize even if they do not apologize back. You can forgive inwardly even if they remain unconscious. You can bless someone even if they misunderstand you. You can stop participating in bitterness even if the other person continues. You can end the war in your own mind even if the world outside remains noisy. This is real maturity. Many people think closure means both people finally understand each other. Sometimes that happens, and it is beautiful. But often closure means you stop needing the other person's understanding to stop bleeding. Closure means you gather your own mind from the battlefield and bring it home. Closure means you say, I have learned what I needed to learn. I will not keep living inside this wound. In old age, closure is mercy. Without closure, people die still arguing with shadows. They argue with dead parents, distant children, former friends, old enemies, younger versions of themselves. Their body sits in the present, but their mind lives in unfinished rooms. They keep opening doors that lead nowhere. They keep asking questions that may never be answered. Why did they do that? Why did this happen to me? Why was I not loved properly? Why did life not give me what I deserved? Some questions are honest and deserve compassion, but if a question does not lead to wisdom after many years, it may only be keeping suffering alive. At some point, the wiser question is not, why did this happen? But how do I stop letting it own my remaining life? Not, why were they like that? But, what can I learn about attachment, expectation, and compassion? Not, why did I lose so much? But what remains that I can meet with presence? This is how questioning becomes liberating instead of circular. You must also accept that some people cannot give what they do not have. This acceptance can save years of pain. You may have wanted emotional tenderness from someone whose heart was never trained in tenderness. You may have wanted deep understanding from someone who never understood themselves. You may have wanted maturity from someone still ruled by fear. You may have wanted gratitude from someone consumed by their own craving. You may have wanted apology from someone too proud to look inward. This does not excuse harm, but it explains why waiting may be useless. A dry well cannot give water because you shout at it. You can stand there for years demanding, crying, accusing, remembering how thirsty you are. But if the well is dry, your anger will not fill it. Wisdom says, this is not where water can be found. Then you stop punishing yourself by returning to the same empty place. In old age, stop returning mentally to dry wells. Stop asking emotionally immature people to give you emotional maturity. Stop asking selfish people to become generous because your heart is starving. Stop asking the past to become different. Stop asking your aging body to behave like a young body. Stop asking impermanent things to provide permanent security. Look for water where water exists, in the breath, in awareness, in compassion, in simple kindness, in wise friendship if it is available, in spiritual practice, in nature, in gratitude, in silence, in the present moment, in releasing what cannot nourish you. This is not lowering your standards. This is ending delusion. Another thing you must release is the fantasy that old age should look a certain way. Many people suffer because they compare their final years to an imagined picture. They imagine children gathering often, grandchildren listening, spouse being gentle, friends remaining close, health staying manageable, savings being enough, respect coming naturally, and peace arriving by itself. When reality does not match the picture, they feel robbed. But life did not sign your picture. This may sound harsh, but it is necessary. Much of suffering comes from insisting that reality match an image created by desire. You may have built that image from culture, family stories, movies, religious expectations, or your own hope. But old age is not obligated to follow your script. The sooner you release the script, the sooner you can meet the real life in front of you. Real life may be quieter, more limited, more uncertain, more physically uncomfortable, more emotionally complex, less appreciated, less organized. But real life is where awakening happens, not in the fantasy, not in the old plan, not in the version of family you wished for, not in the perfect retirement you imagined. Here, this body, this room, this breath, this morning, this relationship as it actually is, this loneliness as it actually feels, this fear as it actually arises. Practice begins when fantasy ends, and when fantasy ends, grief may come. Let it. You may need to grieve the old dream, grieve the family closeness you wanted, grieve the health you lost, grieve the marriage you hoped would become softer, grieve the apologies that never came, grieve the friends who disappeared, grieve the years spent unconscious, grieve the version of yourself you cannot return to. Grief is not failure. Grief is love meeting impermanence. But do not build a house inside grief. Let grief move through. Cry if tears come. Sit if the chest feels heavy. Breathe through the ache. Place a hand on the heart. Say, this too is part of being human. Do not shame yourself for grieving, but also do not keep feeding grief with stories that make it endless. Grief needs compassion, not addiction. Let it wash, but do not keep reopening the wound just to feel the identity of loss. There is a difference between honoring pain and worshipping pain. Honor pain by listening to what it teaches. Worship pain by making it your permanent self. Honor pain by becoming kinder. Worship pain by becoming bitter. Honor pain by releasing illusion. Worship pain by repeating, nobody suffered like me. Honor pain by opening the heart. Worship pain by closing it. Choose wisely. Old age will bring grief, but grief can become a doorway. It can teach tenderness. It can remove arrogance. It can deepen compassion for every being who has lost something. When you have truly suffered, you no longer look at others casually. You understand that every person is carrying invisible things. The loud person may be afraid. The rude person may be wounded. The distant child may be overwhelmed. The silent spouse may be carrying shame. The careless friend may be fighting their own decline. This does not mean you tolerate everything, but it softens hatred. Compassion becomes easier when you stop believing your suffering is the only suffering. This is especially important in family. Many older people look at younger generations and feel anger. They do not respect. They do not listen. They are selfish. They are too busy. They are not like us. Some of this may be true, but if you only judge them, you will not understand them. They are also living under pressures you may not fully see. Their minds are restless. Their world is fast. Their attention is fragmented. Their fears are different. Their economy, relationships, responsibilities, and inner struggles may be heavier than they show. Again, this does not excuse neglect. but it may reduce the poison in your heart. Instead of saying, "They do not care," sometimes say, "They are also suffering." Instead of saying, "They have forgotten me," sometimes say, "They are lost in their own storm." Instead of saying, "They owe me everything," sometimes say, "May they awaken before life teaches them harshly." This shift does not make you weak. It releases you from the ugliness of constant accusation. You can still communicate needs. You can still set boundaries. You can still ask for respect. But do it from clarity, not from a heart burning with blame. In old age, the quality of your inner tone matters. Two people can say the same sentence, but one sentence carries poison and the other carries peace. "Please call me when you can" can be said with love or with guilt. "I need help" can be said with humility or with accusation. "That hurt me" can be said with honesty or with manipulation. "I cannot do this anymore" can be said with clarity or with bitterness. Practice the inner tone before the outer words. This is advanced practice, because old wounds often speak through present conversations. Your child forgets something small, and suddenly you are speaking from decades of feeling unseen. Your spouse makes one comment, and suddenly the whole history of neglect enters your voice. A relative asks for help, and suddenly all the years of being used rise like fire. If you are not aware, you will pour the past into the present and call it truth. Pause. Ask, "Am I responding to this moment, or am I reacting from old pain?" This pause can save relationships. More importantly, it can save your mind. Impermanence also means people are not fixed. Do not freeze others permanently in their worst moment. Some people change slowly, some awaken late, some become kinder after suffering, some understand only when life humbles them. If you keep them locked inside your old judgment, you may miss the possibility of a new relationship. But do not be naive. Seeing change requires evidence, not fantasy. Wise compassion sees clearly. It does not cling to old hatred, and it does not blindly trust empty words. This balance is important. Old age needs softness and discernment together. Softness without discernment becomes vulnerability to harm. Discernment without softness becomes bitterness. The path is to see clearly and love wisely. Let the heart remain human, but let the mind remain awake. You must also become honest about control. Many people call it care, but it is control. They say, "I only want what is best for them," but beneath that is fear of losing influence. They say, "I am only advising," but they cannot tolerate being ignored. They say, "I know better," but they forget that every soul must learn through its own karma, choices, mistakes, and consequences. In old age, the temptation to control can become strong because other forms of power are fading. The body has less power, social influence may reduce, money may be limited, so the mind tries to control through guilt, advice, anger, illness, silence, or emotional withdrawal. Be brutally honest with yourself here. Are you loving people, or are you trying to keep them attached to your will? Love guides and releases. Control advises and grips. Love respects another person's path. Control panics when the path is different. Love can say, "I hope you choose wisely." Control says, "If you do not choose my way, you have betrayed me." Love cares about the other person's awakening. Control cares about your own fear. Old age becomes peaceful when control relaxes. This does not mean you become indifferent. It means you finally accept that you cannot live another person's life for them. Not your child's life, not your spouse's life, not your friend's life. You can share wisdom, you can model peace, you can offer support when appropriate, but you cannot force awakening. Even the Buddha pointed the way. He did not walk the path for another person. Remember this when you suffer over your children's choices. You may love them deeply, but they are not extensions of your ego. They are beings with their own karma, their own ignorance, their own lessons, their own timing. If you make their life the condition for your peace, you will never rest. Bless them, guide when invited, speak when necessary. But do not wrap your whole nervous system around their every decision. This is not easy for a parent. The bond is deep. The memory of them as children remains. You remember their small hands, their need for you, their dependence. But impermanence has touched that too. They are not those small children anymore. The relationship must change, or it will become suffering. If you keep treating adult children as emotional property, they will pull away. If you become a source of guilt, they will avoid you. If you become a calm refuge, they may return more freely. Do not demand closeness in a way that destroys closeness. This is one of the tragedies of old age. People become so afraid of being abandoned that their fear makes them difficult to approach. They complain, accuse, guilt, criticize, and then wonder why others keep distance. This is not to blame the lonely elder, it is to show a pattern. Fear can create the very thing it fears. The fear of being forgotten can make your speech heavy. The fear of being irrelevant can make you controlling. The fear of being unloved can make you demanding. Then people feel pressure instead of warmth. So work with the fear directly. When fear says, hold tighter, wisdom says, become softer. When fear says, make them feel guilty, wisdom says, speak honestly without poison. When fear says, they must prove love, wisdom says, let love breathe. When fear says, control them before they leave, wisdom says, release control so love can return naturally. This is not guaranteed to make people behave perfectly, but it will protect your heart from becoming a prison. And if people still do not come, if they still remain distant, if they still fail to understand, then your practice becomes deeper. Can you remain kind without reward? Can you remain peaceful without applause? Can you bless without possession? Can you sit in silence without turning it into self-hatred? Can you let life be incomplete without calling it meaningless? This is the real examination of old age. Not how many people attend your gatherings, not how many call you daily, not how much property you leave behind, not how loudly people praise you. The real examination is whether your mind becomes lighter or heavier as you approach the end, whether your heart becomes freer or more entangled, whether your speech becomes cleaner or more poisonous, whether your presence becomes refuge or pressure, whether your final years are spent awakening or accusing. No one can answer this for you. You answer every morning by how you meet the day. When you wake up, before reaching for complaint, pause. Feel the breath. Notice that life has given one more day, not because you earned it, not because it will last, simply because conditions have come together for another morning. Let gratitude arise before memory begins its noise. Say inwardly, today may I reduce suffering. Today may I not add poison. Today may I hold lightly. Today may I remember impermanence. Today may I love without chains. This kind of morning intention can reshape old age, not instantly, but steadily. The mind is like a path in the grass. Walk the same way every day, and the path becomes clear. If every morning you walk the path of complaint, complaint becomes easy. If every morning you walk the path of fear, fear becomes familiar. If every morning you walk the path of gratitude, gratitude becomes more available. If every morning you walk the path of awareness, awareness becomes your home. Do not say, "This is just how I am." That sentence is often laziness. The mind has habits, yes. Some are old and strong, but habits can be seen, and what is seen clearly can begin to loosen. You may not transform every pattern completely, but you can stop feeding some of them. You can become less reactive, less bitter, less demanding, less afraid, less attached to being right. That is already a great victory. In Buddhism, small reductions in suffering matter. One less harsh sentence matters. One less night spent replaying resentment matters. One less demand placed on a child matters. One more moment of gratitude matters. One more breath taken consciously matters. One old story released matters. Do not underestimate small practice. The final years are built from small moments, and small moments are all life has ever been. When you look back, your life seems like a huge story. Childhood, youth, marriage, work, children, losses, success, failure, aging. But each part was lived one moment at a time. You never lived a whole life all at once. You lived this breath, this decision, this word, this meal, this goodbye, this morning. So do not be overwhelmed by the idea of transforming old age. Transform this moment, then the next, then the next. If you are lonely, be mindful of loneliness for this moment. If you are afraid, breathe with fear for this moment. If you are angry, soften the body for this moment. If you are regretful, place compassion around regret for this moment. If you are grateful, fully receive gratitude for this moment. This is the path. The path is not dramatic. It is intimate. It is quiet. It happens where nobody applauds. It happens when you choose not to answer sharply. It happens when you put down the phone instead of searching for someone to blame. It happens when you stop yourself from repeating a painful story again. It happens when you bless someone who disappointed you. It happens when you accept help without shame. It happens when you rest without feeling useless. It happens when you admit fear without letting fear rule. These unseen victories shape the heart, and when death comes closer, these victories matter more than anything external. You will not ask, "Did I win every argument?" You will ask, even if silently, "Is my heart at peace?" You will not ask, "Did everyone obey me?" You will ask, "Did I love without making love a cage?" You will not ask, "Did I own enough?" You will ask, "Did I release what could not come with me?" You will not ask, "Was I always respected?" You will ask, "Did I respect the truth of impermanence?" Death simplifies everything. This is why remembering death is not negative. It is clarifying. The mind that remembers death becomes less interested in foolish drama. It no longer has endless time to hate. It no longer wants to spend whole days judging people. It no longer wants to carry arguments like treasures. It understands the absurdity of wasting a precious human life on resentment that cannot change the past. But remembering death must be done wisely, not with panic, not with darkness, not with obsession, with clarity. Say, "Death is certain, therefore let me live cleanly today." Say, "This body will end, therefore let me treat it kindly today." Say, "People I love will also die, therefore let me not delay tenderness." Say, "I cannot take possessions, therefore let me not be possessed by them." Say, "Only the quality of mind matters at the end, therefore let me train the mind now." This is powerful medicine. Many people avoid thinking of death because they believe avoidance gives comfort. It does not. Avoidance creates hidden fear. The unspoken thing becomes larger in the shadows. But when death is brought into awareness gently and repeatedly, it loses some of its terror. It becomes part of life, not an enemy outside life. It becomes the final teacher, not only the final threat. In Buddhist practice, death awareness sharpens compassion. Everyone you meet is also temporary. The child who irritates you will one day suffer loss. The relative you dislike will one day face sickness. The friend who forgot you will one day be forgotten by someone. The person who harmed you was also driven by ignorance and will also meet impermanence. Seeing this does not erase justice, but it reduces hatred. It reminds you that all beings are fragile, confused, seeking happiness, avoiding pain, and yet often creating suffering through ignorance. This understanding can make the heart vast. A vast heart does not mean a foolish heart. You can have compassion and still say no. You can understand someone's ignorance and still protect yourself. You can forgive inwardly and still not reopen the door. but you no longer need to hate. Hatred is too expensive in old age. It consumes energy you need for awakening. It tightens the body. It clouds the mind. It keeps you tied to the person you hate. It creates the illusion of strength while weakening your inner life. Release hatred not because they deserve release, but because you deserve freedom. And release envy too. Envy in old age is especially painful. You may envy the young for their energy. You may envy the healthy for their movement. You may envy couples who seem tender. You may envy elders whose children visit more often. You may envy those with more money, more comfort, more respect, more independence. But envy is another refusal of your own path. It says, I cannot be peaceful because someone else has something I do not. This is endless suffering because someone will always have something you do not. Instead of envy, practice sympathetic joy. This is not easy, but it is liberating. When others are loved, may they enjoy love. When others are healthy, may they use health wisely. When others have family near, may their family be harmonious. When others have comfort, may they not become arrogant. Their blessing does not steal yours. Their path is not your path. You do not need to shrink because another person has light. Sympathetic joy cuts comparison at the root. It says, may goodness exist wherever it appears. This is a noble mind. A small mind only relaxes when others suffer equally. A noble mind can rejoice when others are spared a pain you know well. If you were lonely, may others be surrounded with love. If you were neglected, may others receive care. If you were poor, may others use wealth wisely. If you were misunderstood, may others be understood. This does not make your pain meaningless. It turns your pain into compassion. That is spiritual alchemy. Old age gives you many chances for this alchemy. Every bitterness can become wisdom. Every loss can become compassion. Every fear can become humility. Every disappointment can become detachment. Every regret can become sincerity. Every silence can become meditation. But the transformation is not automatic. Pain does not automatically make people wise. Sometimes pain makes people cruel. Sometimes loss makes people controlling. Sometimes loneliness makes people manipulative. Sometimes aging makes people resentful. You must consciously choose what your suffering will become. This choice is not always easy, but it is always important. Ask yourself, is my suffering making me softer or harder? Not weaker, softer. There is a difference. Weakness collapses. Softness remains open. Weakness has no boundaries. Softness has kindness. Weakness begs. Softness blesses. Weakness loses dignity. Softness releases ego. You can become softer and stronger at the same time. In fact, true softness requires great strength because it refuses to let pain turn into poison. This is the elder the world needs. Not an elder who is perfect, not an elder who never cries, not an elder who has no regrets, but an elder who is awake enough to say, I will not pass my suffering forward. An elder who stops the chain. An elder who does not make younger people pay for old wounds. An elder who can guide without crushing. An elder who can remember without drowning. An elder who can be alone without becoming bitter. An elder who can prepare for death without rejecting life. That kind of elder becomes a living teaching. You may think nobody notices, but presence is felt. A calm elder changes the atmosphere of a family. A forgiving elder loosens ancestral knots. A grateful elder teaches without lecturing. A boundaried elder models dignity. A mindful elder shows that aging does not have to mean spiritual decline. Even if people do not say it, they feel it. And even if nobody feels it, your own mind feels it. Do not practice for applause. Practice because suffering is heavy and you are tired of carrying what does not need to be carried. Practice because your final years deserve cleanliness. Practice because the body is already carrying enough. The mind does not need to add unnecessary burdens. Practice, because every being must eventually let go, and it is wiser to learn willingly than to be torn unwillingly. One of the greatest skills in old age is knowing what no longer deserves your energy. Not every memory deserves another hour. Not every argument deserves another breath. Not every person deserves access to your peace. Not every fear deserves belief. Not every desire deserves obedience. Not every thought deserves a conversation. Not every invitation deserves yes. Not every complaint deserves repetition. Energy becomes precious. Spend it like sacred water. Spend it on meditation. Spend it on kindness. Spend it on gentle movement. Spend it on making your environment peaceful. Spend it on meaningful conversations. Spend it on forgiveness. Spend it on preparing your affairs so others are not burdened. Spend it on gratitude. Spend it on silence. Spend it on learning how to die without panic. Do not spend it on proving that you were right in arguments from 20 years ago. Do not spend it on forcing people to feel guilty. Do not spend it on comparing your old age to someone else's. Do not spend it on frightening yourself with imagined futures. Do not spend it on keeping alive the identity of being wronged. This is where discipline becomes compassion. You are not denying pain, you are refusing to waste what remains. And there is something else you must understand. In old age, memory becomes both a gift and a danger. It is a gift because it holds the richness of life. It lets you remember faces, homes, journeys, laughter, lessons, people who shaped you. But it is a danger when the mind uses memory to escape the present or torture the heart. Some memories deserve a bow and release. Some memories deserve gratitude. Some deserve mourning. Some deserve forgiveness. But none should become a cage. When a memory comes, meet it like a visitor. Do not immediately move in with it. Say, "Ah, this has come." If it is sweet, enjoy it gently, without clinging. If it is painful, hold it gently, without drowning. If it brings regret, learn. If it brings longing, breathe. If it brings anger, observe the heat in the body. Let the memory pass through awareness instead of becoming the owner of your day. Memories are not the present, they are images arising now. This distinction matters. The past is not happening again, except in the mind and body. When you replay it, the body suffers as though it is current. The heart tightens, the face changes, the breath shortens. You lose the only moment where peace is possible. So treat memory carefully. Do not let old ghosts eat today's food. Today is alive. The past is an echo. Listen when the echo teaches. But do not follow it into darkness. Another deep practice is learning to receive care without shame. Some people spend their whole life being strong, and when old age makes them dependent in certain ways, they feel humiliated. They say, "I do not want to be a burden." This fear is understandable. But be careful. Pride can hide inside the refusal to receive. You helped others when they needed you. Why is it shameful now to receive help with grace? Interdependence is not humiliation, it is reality. No one has ever lived independently in the absolute sense. As a baby, you depended completely. As an adult, you depended on farmers, workers, teachers, healers, builders, strangers, earth, water, air, sunlight, and countless conditions. Independence was always partial. Old age simply makes interdependence visible again. Receive with gratitude, not entitlement. Ask clearly, not manipulatively. Accept help without making people feel trapped. Say thank you. Respect the limits of those helping you. Do what you still can for yourself. This balance preserves dignity. Needing help does not make you less human. But demanding help without gratitude, or refusing all help out of pride, both create suffering. The middle way again. Do what you can. Receive what you need. Release the shame. At the same time, prepare practically. Spirituality is not an excuse for disorder. Impermanence should make you responsible. Organize your documents. Clarify your wishes. Simplify your possessions. Do not leave behind avoidable confusion because you were uncomfortable facing reality. This too is compassion. This too is practice. When you prepare, you are saying, I understand life is temporary, and I choose not to burden others unnecessarily. Many people avoid these tasks because they feel like admitting death. But death does not become more likely because you prepare. It is already certain. Preparation does not invite death. It invites peace. It reduces chaos. It allows your mind to rest. It gives your family clarity. It turns fear into responsibility. Prepare outwardly, then return inwardly. Because even if everything is organized outside, the deepest preparation is still the mind. A person can have documents in order and still be terrified. A person can have property settled and still be full of resentment. A person can have medicine, care, and family nearby and still suffer if the mind is untrained. So prepare both. Put your worldly matters in order and put your heart in order. Putting the heart in order means asking, who do I still hate? What am I still clinging to? What truth am I avoiding? What apology do I need to offer? What expectation keeps poisoning me? What fear controls my choices? What simple joy have I stopped noticing? What story about myself am I ready to release? These questions are not comfortable, but comfort is not the highest goal. Freedom is. Sometimes the answer will hurt. You may discover that you were not only a victim, you also harmed others. You may discover that your love was mixed with control. You may discover that your generosity was mixed with the desire to be needed. You may discover that your sadness was sometimes used to manipulate. You may discover that your anger toward others protected you from facing your own mistakes. This honesty is painful, but it is sacred. Do not run from it. The purpose is not to shame yourself. The purpose is to become free from illusion. A person who cannot see their own shadow remains dangerous, even in old age. A person who sees it with humility becomes gentle. They stop pretending. They stop needing to be the hero of every story. They can say, I suffered, and I also caused suffering. I loved, and I also clung. I gave, and I also expected. I was hurt, and I also hurt. May I now live with more awareness. That prayer is powerful. It cuts through pride, and pride must soften before death. Pride is heavy. Pride says, I was always right. Pride says, they should come first. Pride says, I will not apologize. Pride says, I cannot show weakness. Pride says, I deserve more. Pride says, I must be remembered exactly as I want. But death does not bow to pride. Aging does not bow to pride. Impermanence does not bow to pride. The body humbles everyone eventually. Better to become humble willingly than to be broken unwillingly. Humility in old age is beautiful. It does not mean hating yourself. It means seeing yourself accurately. You are human. You were conditioned. You made mistakes. You also loved, tried, endured, learned, and survived. You are neither as perfect as pride says, nor as worthless as shame says. You are a being on the path, still capable of awakening. Humility allows learning until the end. Without humility, old age becomes rigid. A rigid elder cannot receive correction, cannot apologize, cannot change, cannot laugh at themselves, cannot admit fear, cannot hear younger people, cannot release old views. They become trapped inside a hardened self-image. This is suffering. Do not become a statue of your old opinions. Remain alive inside. Remain teachable. Let life soften the places that became hard. Being old does not automatically mean being wise. Wisdom requires seeing clearly. Some younger people may understand things you did not understand. Let that be okay. Some old beliefs may need revision. Let that be okay. Some traditions you defended may contain both beauty and harm. Let that be okay. Some ways you raise children may have come from your own wounds. Let that be okay. Seeing more clearly does not erase your whole life. It honors truth. A mind that can still learn is not old in the deepest sense. This openness also helps you face uncertainty. Old age often brings many unknowns. How long will I live? How much pain will come? Who will stay? Who will help? What will happen to my mind? Will I die peacefully? These questions can become a storm. But Buddhism does not promise certainty. It offers a way to meet uncertainty without panic. The way is presence. You do not know the whole future. You know this breath. You do not know how many years remain. You know this morning. You do not know who will be beside you at the end. You know whether your heart is open now. You do not know how death will come. You know how you are relating to life in this moment. Bring the mind back from the vast unknown to the workable present. Fear loves the future, because the future is open enough for imagination to create monsters. Awareness returns to the present, because the present is specific. There is breathing, there is sensation, there is a chair, there is light, there is sound, there is a thought, there is emotion. Meet what is actually here. Most suffering grows from living in imagined futures and remembered pasts. This does not mean never plan. Plan wisely, then return. Prepare, then return. Think when thinking is useful, then return. But do not let the mind chew the future endlessly. Chewing does not make it softer, it only exhausts you. In old age, rest is spiritual, not laziness, rest. The nervous system needs rest from decades of striving. The heart needs rest from proving. The mind needs rest from controlling. The body needs rest from being treated like a machine. Let yourself rest without guilt, but let it be conscious rest, not dull escape. Rest in breathing, rest in gratitude, rest in silence, rest in the knowledge that you do not have to fix everything before you are allowed to be peaceful. Some things will remain unfinished. Accept this. Not every relationship will be repaired. Not every misunderstanding will be cleared. Not every dream will be fulfilled. Not every question will be answered. Not every person will know your real intention. Not every effort will be appreciated. Not every wound will disappear completely. A human life ends with some loose threads. The peace is not in tying every thread. The peace is in no longer strangling yourself with them. Let life be incomplete. This is one of the most liberating teachings for old age. The ego wants a neat ending. It wants everyone gathered, everyone grateful, everyone apologetic, every story understood, every sacrifice honored, every fear removed. But real life is rarely neat. People are complex. Timing is imperfect. Minds are confused. Bodies fail. Words remain unsaid. Hearts awaken at different speeds. If you demand a perfect ending, you may miss the imperfect peace available now. An imperfect peace is still peace. A quiet cup of tea with some sadness in the heart can still be peace. A prayer whispered through fear can still be peace. A conversation that does not solve everything but softens something can still be peace. A day with pain but less resentment can still be peace. A lonely evening where you do not attack yourself can still be peace. Do not reject small peace because it is not total peace. Take what is wholesome and water it. The mind has been watering suffering for years. It waters resentment by repeating stories. It waters fear by imagining disaster. It waters loneliness by insisting nobody cares. It waters regret by replaying mistakes without learning. Now begin watering peace. Water it through attention. Notice small goodness. Notice one moment of calm. Notice one kind word. Notice one breath that feels spacious. Notice one memory without pain. Notice one moment where you could have reacted but did not. What you water grows. This is a practical teaching. If you water complaint, do not be surprised when old age becomes a garden of thorns. If you water gratitude, something softer grows. It may not remove all thorns, but it gives flowers somewhere to appear. And when flowers appear, Do not cling to them either. Enjoy them. Bow to them. Let them pass. Even peace is not something to possess. If you cling to a peaceful state, you will suffer when it changes. Practice is not about creating one permanent mood. It is about changing your relationship with all moods. Peace comes, peace goes. Sadness comes, sadness goes. Energy comes, energy goes. Clarity comes, clarity goes. The deeper peace is knowing how to hold all of it lightly. This is why acceptance of impermanence is the foundation of everything. Without it, even good things become fear. You fear losing health. You fear losing loved ones. You fear losing comfort. You fear losing respect. You fear losing mental clarity. You fear losing life itself. With acceptance, good things become gifts instead of possessions. You enjoy them more because you do not demand that they stay forever. Imagine holding a bird. If you grip too tightly, you harm it. If your hand is open, it may rest there freely. Life is like that. Relationships are like that. The body is like that. Every moment is like that. Hold with an open hand. Old age is the time to open the hand. Open the hand around your children. Let them be loved, not owned. Open the hand around your spouse. Let them be human, not your emotional servant. Open the hand around friends. Let their presence be appreciated, not demanded. Open the hand around the past. Let it teach, not imprison. Open the hand around the body. Let it be cared for, not hated. Open the hand around your identity. Let yourself become simpler. Open the hand around life itself. Let each breath come and go. There is sadness in opening the hand, yes, but there is also relief. The clenched fist is exhausted. It has been holding too much for too long. It held old pain, old pride, old roles, old expectations, old fear. Let it relax. Let the fingers uncurl. Let the palm feel empty at first. Then notice that emptiness is not always loss. Sometimes emptiness is space. Space for peace. Space for compassion. Space for the present moment. Space for the final chapter to become luminous in its own quiet way. You may ask, but what if I truly am alone? Then this teaching becomes even more important. If there are few people around you, do not waste your energy hating the silence. Learn how to live inside it. Make your room a place of practice. Keep it clean. Keep your mind cleaner. Let mornings have rhythm. Let the body move as it can. Let meals be mindful. Let speech, even if rare, be kind. Let reading be nourishing. Let meditation become companionship. Let compassion extend outward, even if no one is near. Aloneness is difficult when the mind is full of craving, but aloneness can become deep when the mind is trained. Many monks have lived in solitude, not because they hated humanity, but because solitude reveals the mind. In your old age, solitude may not have been chosen, but it can still become practice. Do not romanticize it, it may hurt, but do not waste it either. Sit in the quiet and listen beneath the loneliness. Under loneliness, there is often longing. Under longing, there is love. Under love, there is the desire to belong. Under the desire to belong, there is the misunderstanding that you are separate from life. Look deeper. In this moment, you belong to the breath. You belong to the earth holding you. You belong to the vast web of conditions that makes this moment possible. You belong not as an ego demanding attention, but as a living part of existence. This does not replace human warmth, but it reduces the lie that you are completely abandoned. The mind says, no one is here. Awareness says, breath is here. Body is here. Sound is here. Space is here. Life is here. The mind says, I am forgotten. Awareness says, this moment is known. The mind says, I have nothing. Awareness says, look again. This looking again is practice. Sometimes you may need human help. Seek it without shame. Spirituality should not become isolation when support is needed. If you are depressed, ill, unsafe, confused, or unable to care for yourself, ask for help. Accept community where it exists. Reach out to wise people, not just familiar people, but while receiving help, continue the inner work. People can support you, but they cannot replace your own awakening. Do not turn Buddhism into a way to deny human needs. The Buddha taught the middle way. Human connection matters. Kindness matters. Community matters. Care matters. The teaching is not that you need nobody. That is false and proud. The teaching is that you must not make your peace completely dependent on anybody. That is the difference. Need practical help when needed. Welcome love when it comes. But do not worship dependence. Healthy interdependence is not the same as attachment. Attachment says, you must be here or I cannot survive emotionally. Interdependence says, we support one another while remembering that all conditions change. Attachment demands. Interdependence appreciates. Attachment fears loss constantly. Interdependence loves in the present. Attachment clings to identity. Interdependence honors connection without illusion. This is the mature heart, and the mature heart is what old age asks from you now. Not childish craving, not emotional revenge, not constant testing of people's love, not silent punishment, not endless complaint. Maturity, the ability to say, I feel pain, but I will not weaponize it. The ability to say, I need care, but I will ask clearly. The ability to say, I was hurt, but I will not become hatred. The ability to say, I am afraid, but I will still face truth. The ability to say, I am aging, but I am still capable of awakening. This maturity is rare, but it is possible, even now, especially now, because old age removes many distractions that kept you asleep. Use that. Do not only mourn what has been removed, ask what the removal makes possible. Less social pressure can mean more honesty. Less ambition can mean more contentment. Less physical speed can mean more mindfulness. Less external responsibility can mean more inner refinement. Less future time can mean more urgency for truth. The final chapter can be concentrated wisdom if you stop resisting it. Think of your life as a long journey up a mountain. In the beginning, you ran, stumbled, chased, collected, competed, loved, lost, built, broke, hoped, feared. Now you are higher on the mountain. The air is thinner, the body is tired. Some companions are gone, the path is narrower, but the view can be clearer. You can see patterns you could not see before. You can understand which struggles were necessary and which were foolish. You can see how craving moved you, how fear shaped you, how love saved you, how ignorance harmed you. Do not close your eyes now. Look. Look without hatred. Look without denial. Look without drowning in regret. Look like a practitioner. Say, this was my life. These were my causes and conditions. This was my suffering. This was my love. These were my mistakes. These were my lessons. Now, how shall I meet what remains? That question is noble. How shall I meet what remains? Not, how do I get everything back? You cannot. Not, how do I force people to be what I wanted? You should not. Not, how do I avoid death? You will not. But, how shall I meet what remains? With bitterness or gratitude? With fear or awareness? With control or release? With complaint or practice? With closed fists or open hands? Every day, answer again. Some days you will answer poorly. Return. Some days you will answer beautifully. Do not cling. Some days you will forget everything. Begin again. The path is patient. Awareness does not reject you because you stumble. It simply waits for your return. This is one of the kindest truths. You can always return to the present moment, even after years of being lost, even after a morning of anger, even after a painful conversation, even after crying, even after fear. The breath is here. The body is here. Awareness is available. Return does not require permission from the past. Return now, and now, and now. Each return weakens the old habit of wandering into suffering. As you continue, you may notice something subtle. You may still have fewer people around, but you feel less abandoned. You may still have pain, but you feel less betrayed by the body. You may still remember old wounds, but they burn less. You may still face uncertainty, but it terrifies you less often. This is how practice works. It does not always remove conditions. It transforms relationship. The rain may still fall, but you stop screaming at the sky. The wind may still blow, but you learn how to close the window. The night may still come, but you light the lamp. The lamp is awareness. Keep it lit. When the mind says, "I do not need friends, children, husband or wife," be careful. If this comes from bitterness, it is not wisdom. If it comes from wounded pride, it is another chain. The real teaching is more precise. You do not need to depend on friends, children, husband or wife for the peace that must be cultivated within. You may love them, you may be grateful for them, you may miss them, you may enjoy them, but you do not make them the foundation of your inner freedom. People are beautiful, but unstable. Love is sacred, but changing. Relationships are meaningful, but impermanent. Therefore, love deeply and cling lightly. This is the balance. When people come, receive them fully. Do not poison their visit by complaining that they came late, stayed short, or did not come before. Many elders ruin the very love they receive by immediately measuring it against the love they wanted. Someone calls, and instead of saying, "I am glad to hear your voice," they say, "So now you remembered me." Someone visits, and instead of receiving the moment, they say, "You never come." This may express pain, but it also pushes love away. Be honest, yes, but do not make every contact a punishment. If you need to express hurt, do it calmly, at the right time. But also learn to receive imperfect love. Most human love is imperfect. People are busy, distracted, wounded, limited. If you reject every imperfect expression because it is not complete enough, you may starve beside food. Receive the good that comes. Ask for what is needed. Release the rest. This is not settling for disrespect. It is recognizing reality. In old age, do not become so attached to how love should appear that you miss how it is appearing. A child may not call daily, but may pay attention in practical ways. A spouse may not speak emotionally, but may sit nearby faithfully. A friend may not visit often, but may remember you sincerely. A grandchild may be awkward, but still carry affection. See clearly. Do not invent love where there is none, but do not dismiss love because it wears a different clothing than you expected. Awareness sees nuance. Attachment sees only demand. And if love truly is absent from certain places, do not keep begging there. Turn toward the sources of nourishment that are available. Sometimes a neighbor shows more kindness than relatives. Sometimes a spiritual community gives more warmth than family. Sometimes solitude gives more peace than a toxic relationship. Sometimes a simple routine gives more stability than people who constantly disturb you. Wisdom is knowing where peace grows. Do not worship blood relation blindly. Blood does not guarantee kindness. Marriage does not guarantee understanding. Friendship does not guarantee loyalty. Age does not guarantee wisdom. Titles are not truth. Look at actions. Look at patterns. Look at how your mind feels around certain people. Choose closeness wisely, but do not hate those who cannot be close. Let them be limited. Let them be elsewhere. Let them be lessons. This is how you protect the heart without closing it. The closed heart says, "I will never love again." The wise heart says, "I will love with discernment." The closed heart says, "Everyone disappoints." The wise heart says, "Some disappoint, some care, all are impermanent." The closed heart says, "I need nobody." The wise heart says, "I welcome wholesome connection, but I rest in myself." The closed heart is armor. The wise heart is an open door with a strong frame. Build that strong frame. Boundaries are the frame. Compassion is the door. Awareness is the house. Impermanence is the sky above it. Let your final years live in that house. And remember, peace in old age is not always dramatic. It may look very ordinary. It may be a morning without resentment, a meal eaten slowly, a conversation without guilt, a memory released, a drawer cleaned, a walk taken with gratitude, a pain met without hatred, a prayer offered for someone who hurt you, a night where you sleep without replaying the past. These are not small, they are signs that bondage is weakening. The world may not clap for this kind of victory, but the heart knows. The heart knows when it is less heavy. The heart knows when it no longer tightens around every absence. The heart knows when an old name no longer burns as before. The heart knows when silence becomes softer. The heart knows when death is still mysterious, but not always an enemy. Trust these quiet signs. Do not seek constant spiritual excitement. Old age practice is often humble. It is repetition, returning, softening, cleaning, forgiving, breathing, releasing, again and again. The ego wants a big awakening. Wisdom accepts daily purification. A pot becomes clean not by one dramatic splash, but by repeated washing. The mind is similar. Wash it daily. Wash it with mindfulness. Wash it with compassion. Wash it with truth. Wash it with gratitude. Wash it with the memory of impermanence. And when the mind becomes dirty again, do not despair. Wash again. This is the path. As you continue practicing, you may begin to understand that the final letting go is not separate from the small letting go. Every time you release a complaint, you practice death. Every time you release a memory, you practice death. Every time you release control over a child, you practice death. Every time you release the need to be right, you practice death. Every time you release the demand that the body be different, you practice death. Not morbid death, but sacred release. Then, when the final release comes, it is not entirely unfamiliar. You have been learning its language, the language of opening, the language of exhaling, the language of bowing to what is, the language of saying, this too changes. This is why the wise do not wait until the last bed to begin letting go. They let go while walking, eating, speaking, remembering, loving. They become intimate with release. They make peace with the nature of things. They do not expect the final moment to be easy, but they prepare the heart. Prepare your heart, not by fear, by practice, not by rejecting life, by loving it without possession, not by becoming cold, by becoming clear, not by giving up, by giving up illusion. There is a difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up says, nothing matters. Letting go says, everything matters, but nothing can be owned. Giving up is despair. Letting go is wisdom. Giving up closes the heart. Letting go frees it. Giving up turns away from life. Letting go meets life as it is. Do not give up on your final years. Let go within them. Let go of the demand that they be painless. Let go of the demand that they be admired. Let go of the demand that they match your old dreams. Let go of the demand that everyone finally understand you. Let go of the demand that you never feel fear. Let go of the demand that practice make you perfect. Let go of the demand that life be other than life. Then something gentle becomes possible. You may sit one evening and notice the quiet is not attacking you. You may hear your own breath and feel companionship with existence. You may remember someone who hurt you and feel sadness without hatred. You may look at your aged hands and feel respect instead of shame. You may think of death and feel seriousness, but also a strange tenderness. You may realize that you have been fighting for so long, and in that realization, the fight drops for a moment. That moment is precious. Do not grasp it. Bow to it. It is a taste of freedom. Freedom does not mean the story becomes perfect. It means you are not completely trapped inside the story. You still have a name, a past, a body, relationships, needs, memories. But you also know you are more spacious than all of them. You know thoughts are passing. You know emotions are passing. You know roles are passing. You know the body is passing. This knowing does not make you less loving. It makes your love less frightened. A frightened love clings. A wise love blesses. A frightened love demands. A wise love communicates. A frightened love controls. A wise love trusts the path. A frightened love says, "Do not leave me." A wise love says, "While you are here, may I love you well." This is the love to cultivate now. Love your children this way. Love your spouse this way. Love your friends this way. Love your own aging body this way. Love the world this way. Love the breath this way. With appreciation, not ownership. With tenderness, not panic. With presence, not demand. And love yourself this way too. Not the ego self that wants to be praised, but the suffering human being who has carried so much. Offer compassion inwardly. You may have spoken harshly to yourself for years. You may have judged your aging face, your weakening body, your mistakes, your needs, your emotions. Stop adding cruelty. The world has already given enough difficulty. Let your own mind become a place of refuge, not another enemy. When pain arises, say, "May I meet this with kindness." When fear arises, say, "May I hold this fear gently." When regret arises, say, "May I learn without hatred." When loneliness arises, say, "May I not abandon myself in this loneliness." This is not childish comfort. It is deep training. A mind that speaks with compassion heals faster than a mind that attacks itself. Harshness may create temporary control, but it does not create peace. Many older people are harsh with themselves because they believe they deserve punishment, but punishment does not awaken wisdom. Clear seeing with compassion awakens wisdom. You can be accountable and kind at the same time. You can admit mistakes without becoming self-hatred. You can grieve losses without becoming hopeless. You can feel fear without becoming fear. You can need help without becoming shame. This is the middle way inside your own heart. As impermanence becomes more visible, let it teach urgency, not panic. Urgency says, "Be awake now." Panic says, "I cannot handle this." Urgency is clean. Panic is chaotic. Urgency makes you kind today. Panic makes you desperate. Urgency helps you prepare. Panic makes you freeze. Urgency remembers death and chooses life. Panic remembers death and loses the present. Choose urgency. Let death awareness make your tea taste deeper. Let it make your words softer. Let it make your anger shorter. Let it make your gratitude quicker. Let it make your attachments lighter. Let it make your practice sincere. Let it make your love less delayed. If this were your last year, what would truly matter? Not the small insult, not the relative's opinion, not the old competition, not the need to prove yourself, not the argument about who was more wrong, not the possession sitting unused, not the pride that keeps you from apologizing, not the fear that keeps you from saying love. What would matter is the quality of your mind, the cleanliness of your heart, the kindness you offered, the burdens you released, the peace you cultivated. Live closer to that truth now, because one day it will not be an exercise, it will be reality. The problem is that people think they have time. Even in old age, the mind says, later. Later I will forgive. Later I will meditate. Later I will simplify. Later I will speak gently. Later I will stop complaining. Later I will prepare. Later I will accept. Later I will let go. But later is not guaranteed. Later is the favorite lie of attachment. The breath does not promise another breath. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to wake you. Wake up now, not with panic, but with tenderness. Look around your life. What can be softened today? What can be released today? Who can be blessed today? What can be simplified today? What truth can be admitted today? What practice can begin today? Do one thing, not everything. One thing. Release one object. Apologize to one person. Forgive one memory inwardly. Sit for 10 breaths. Eat one meal mindfully. Speak one sentence less harshly. Stop one complaint before it leaves the mouth. Write down one wish clearly, so others are not confused later. Thank one person. Place your hand on your heart, and stop treating yourself like an enemy. One thing done sincerely is better than 100 spiritual ideas left unused. Buddhism is not for decoration. It is not for sounding wise. It is for reducing suffering. If a teaching does not enter your speech, your reactions, your relationships, your habits, your loneliness, your fear, then it remains on the surface. Let it enter. Let impermanence enter your bones. Let compassion enter your voice. Let mindfulness enter your mornings. Let detachment enter your love. Let gratitude enter your meals. Let forgiveness enter your memories. Let simplicity enter your room. Let wisdom enter your final years. Then the teaching becomes alive. And when teaching becomes alive, old age is no longer merely decline. It becomes ripening. A fruit ripens by softening, sweetening, and becoming ready to release from the branch. If it resists forever, it rots in clinging. If it ripens, it nourishes. Let your old age ripen. Let it become less sharp, less bitter, less hard. Let sweetness appear not because life was easy, but because wisdom matured through difficulty. A ripe person is not naive. They have seen betrayal, illness, death, disappointment, and impermanence. But they do not smell of resentment. They carry depth. Their kindness has weight because it survived reality. Their silence has warmth because it is not empty. Their presence teaches because it is not performing. Their acceptance is not defeat. It is understanding. Become ripe. Do not become rotten with complaint. This is blunt, but necessary. Some people use old age as permission to become cruel. They think suffering excuses everything. It does not. Your pain explains some reactions, but it does not justify spending your final years hurting everyone around you. If you demand compassion, practice compassion. If you want respect, speak respectfully. If you want people to visit, become someone whose presence does not always wound. If you want peace, stop feeding war inside your own mind. No one becomes wise by age alone. Choose wisdom. If you have become bitter, admit it, not to drown in shame, but to change direction. Say, bitterness has entered me. I understand why, but I will not let it rule the rest of my life. Then begin removing its food. Bitterness feeds on repetition, comparison, entitlement, isolation, and pride. Starve it. Feed gratitude, feed connection with wise people, feed silence, feed forgiveness, feed service appropriate to your energy, feed humor, feed humility. Yes, humor matters. Old age without humor becomes too heavy. Learn to smile at the mind's drama. Learn to laugh gently at your own stubbornness. Learn to see the absurdity of trying to control everything. This laughter is not carelessness, it is spaciousness. The ego is very serious about its suffering. Awareness can be tender and still smile. A light heart is not a shallow heart. Sometimes, after deep suffering, a simple smile is a sign of great wisdom. Do not wait for perfect conditions to smile. Smile at the morning if you can. Smile at the body, even if it is slow. Smile at a child's noise. Smile at your own forgetfulness when it is harmless. Smile at the fact that life was never fully under your control, despite all your planning. Smile not because everything is fine, but because fighting everything has become exhausting and unnecessary. This gentle smile is a form of letting go. As you continue, you will see that old age asks for fewer theories and more embodiment. It is not enough to say, all things are impermanent, and then become furious when plans change. It is not enough to say, attachment causes suffering, and then emotionally punish your children for having their own lives. It is not enough to say, compassion is important, and then speak with cruelty to those closest to you. The teaching must become flesh. It must show in your face, your voice, your patience, your decisions. Let people feel Buddhism through your presence, not only hear it through your words. This is especially powerful with grandchildren or younger people. They may not listen to lectures, but they notice energy. They notice whether you are calm or reactive. They notice whether your home feels safe or tense. They notice whether your spirituality makes you kinder or more judgmental. They notice whether you forgive or keep score. They notice whether aging made you wise or merely old. Leave them an example worth remembering, not perfection. Humanity with awareness. Let them remember that you suffered but did not become cruel, that you aged but did not stop learning, that you lost people but did not stop loving, that you had pain but still practiced gratitude, that you faced death with honesty, that you spoke less but meant more, that your final years carried a quiet strength. This is a legacy deeper than possessions. Possessions will be divided, sold, forgotten, broken, or stored. But the emotional imprint of your presence may travel through generations. If you heal even one pattern in yourself, you may prevent it from continuing through others. If you stop using guilt as love, someone after you may learn freer love. If you apologize, someone after you may learn humility. If you set boundaries, someone after you may learn dignity. If you forgive, someone after you may learn release. Your inner work is not only for you, it is for everyone who has been touched by your suffering and everyone who will be touched by your peace. But again, do not practice to control legacy. Practice because it is right. Let the fruits go. Maybe people will recognize your growth. Maybe they will not. Maybe they will misunderstand you until the end. Maybe they will only appreciate you after you are gone. Maybe they will never understand. Release even that. The deepest practice is not dependent on being recognized as spiritual, wise, or good. Recognition is another attachment. Let your goodness be quiet if it must be. Let your healing be unseen if it must be. Let your practice happen without witnesses. The breath sees. Awareness sees. The heart knows. This is enough. In the final years, enough becomes a sacred word. Enough food, enough rest, enough speech, enough possessions, enough drama, enough proving, enough chasing, enough self-punishment, enough waiting for people to become different, enough arguing with impermanence, enough delaying peace. Say enough, not as bitterness, but as awakening. Enough of carrying what cannot come with me, enough of fighting what cannot be changed. Enough of making my heart depend on unstable things. Enough of forgetting the breath. Enough of living as though death is not real. Enough of treating this moment as unimportant. This enough clears the path. Then another kind of enough appears. This breath is enough to practice. This meal is enough to be grateful. This small kindness is enough to soften. This quiet room is enough to meditate. This old body is enough to awaken. This imperfect life is enough to learn. This moment is enough to return. That is contentment. Contentment does not mean you never improve anything. It means the heart stops starving in the middle of what is already present. A content person may still act, plan, heal, communicate, and seek help, but they are not driven by the endless scream of not enough. Their actions come from clarity, not desperation. Old age needs contentment because desire does not retire by itself. The body becomes old, but craving can remain young and wild. Craving still wants attention, pleasure, praise, control, comfort, importance, revenge, certainty. If craving is not understood, old age becomes embarrassing. A person with a weak body but a greedy mind suffers intensely. They cannot enjoy what is here because craving keeps pointing to what is missing. So study craving. When craving arises, do not immediately obey. Ask, what do I think this will give me? If you crave a call, perhaps you want reassurance. If you crave praise, perhaps you want worth. If you crave control, perhaps you want safety. If you crave possessions, perhaps you want identity. If you crave being needed, perhaps you fear emptiness. Look beneath the surface. Craving is often a confused search for peace. Once you see the real need, you can meet it more wisely. If you need reassurance, breathe and offer kindness inwardly before demanding it outwardly. If you need worth, remember that usefulness is not your only value. If you need safety, create practical stability, but also accept uncertainty. If you need identity, rest in awareness beyond roles. If you fear emptiness, enter the emptiness gently and discover space. This is deep work. Do not expect it to be easy, but it is more fruitful than blindly chasing every desire. The Buddha did not say desire exists because you are bad. Desire exists because ignorance misunderstands where happiness comes from. It reaches outward, grasps, fears loss, suffers, and reaches again. Wisdom does not hate desire, it understands it. When understood, desire loses some of its hypnotic power. In old age, this understanding is urgent. There is less time to keep repeating the same cycle. How many times have you believed, if this person behaves differently, then I will be happy? How many times have you believed, if I get this respect, then I will be peaceful? How many times have you believed, if the past is acknowledged, then I can rest? Sometimes external changes help, but they never end craving at the root. The root is inside, the demand that unstable things provide stable peace. Cut the root gently through insight. See the arising of craving. See the tension it creates. See the story it tells. See the disappointment when reality does not obey. See the brief satisfaction when it gets what it wants, then the return of hunger. Seeing this again and again is wisdom. You do not need to hate the world. You simply stop expecting it to feed a hunger that only awakening can end. Then relationships become cleaner. You stop approaching people as sources of emotional supply. You meet them as fellow impermanent beings. This changes your eyes. You become less demanding and more present. You listen better because you are not only waiting for them to reassure you, you give more freely because you are not secretly purchasing future loyalty. You receive more gratefully because you no longer treat love as debt repayment. This is how detachment improves love. The ignorant mind thinks detachment will make love weaker. Actually, attachment makes love fearful and heavy. Detachment allows love to breathe. It allows the other person to exist. It allows you to exist. It removes the constant threat, be what I need or I will suffer. Without that threat, love becomes kinder. In old age, become a person whose love is not a burden. This does not mean you never need anything. Human beings need care. But there is a difference between expressing need and making others responsible for your entire inner world. Say what you need clearly, then allow reality. If they can help, receive. If they cannot, seek other support or adjust. But do not turn every unmet need into a verdict that life has abandoned you. This is emotional discipline. And emotional discipline is just as important as physical discipline. You would not throw poison into your food every day and expect the body to be well. So why throw poison into the mind every day and expect peace? Every complaint, every resentful replay, every jealous comparison, every fearful fantasy, every harsh judgment, these are mental foods. Choose what you feed yourself. This does not mean suppress negative emotions. Suppression is not discipline. Discipline is mindful relationship. You feel anger, but you do not feed it with endless stories. You feel sadness, but you do not build an identity around it. You feel fear, but you do not let it make every decision. You feel loneliness, but you do not immediately harm yourself with the story that you are unloved. You allow feelings, but you do not worship them. This is mature practice. Feelings are weather. Awareness is the sky. Old age brings many kinds of weather: storms of memory, fog of confusion, rain of grief, heat of anger, cold winds of loneliness, clear mornings of gratitude. Do not confuse the weather for the sky. The sky holds all of it and remains wider. Rest as the sky. This metaphor is simple, but if practiced, it is powerful. When fear appears, say, weather. When sadness appears, say, weather. When peace appears, say, weather. This does not make you indifferent. It makes you spacious. You stop being thrown completely by every inner climate. And when the body's weather becomes difficult, bring the same practice. Pain may come, weakness may come, fatigue may come, medical uncertainty may come. Meet the body with compassion. Do not make pain worse by adding hatred. Pain is already hard. Hatred says, this should not be happening. Fear says, this will never end. Identity says, I am only this pain. Awareness says, pain is present. Breathing is present. Let me soften around what can be softened. Sometimes only a small softening is possible. That is enough. Do not demand heroic peace from yourself. Sometimes practice is simply not adding extra suffering. If the body hurts, and you refrain from cursing life for 1 minute, that is practice. If fear rises, and you breathe for 10 seconds before believing it fully, that is practice. If loneliness comes, and you place one gentle hand on your heart instead of attacking yourself, that is practice. Respect small victories. Old age does not need spiritual performance. It needs sincerity. There may be nights when teachings feel far away, nights when the room feels too quiet, nights when death feels too close, nights when the mind whispers, I am not ready. In those nights, do not try to solve your whole life. Return to the simplest refuge. Breathe in, know you are breathing in. Breathe out, know you are breathing out. If possible, lengthen the exhale. Relax the jaw. Relax the shoulders. Feel the bed or chair supporting you. Say inwardly, this is fear. Fear is allowed. I will not abandon myself. Sometimes this is enough to pass through the night. Not every night must become enlightenment. Some nights are only survived with awareness. That too is noble. When morning comes, do not carry the night as failure. Begin again. Wash your face. Drink water. Sit for a few breaths. Let light enter the mind. The path does not reject you because fear visited. Fear has visited countless beings. Even those who practice deeply must meet the unknown. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the willingness to meet fear without surrendering wisdom completely. In old age, courage becomes quiet. It is not loud heroism. It is taking medicine. It is asking for help. It is apologizing. It is sitting in meditation. It is simplifying belongings. It is talking about death honestly. It is letting children live their lives. It is waking up after a hard night and still choosing not to become bitter. This courage deserves respect. Respect yourself for every moment you choose awareness over habit, and be patient with the parts of you that still cling. They are afraid. The clinging part is not evil. It is trying to protect you in an unwise way. It thinks holding tightly will prevent loss. It thinks control will prevent abandonment. It thinks resentment will prevent being hurt again. It thinks pride will prevent humiliation. Thank it for trying, then teach it gently. Say, we do not need to hold this tightly anymore. We can open a little. We can breathe. We can trust the path more than fear. This inner gentleness matters. You are not beating yourself into awakening. You are understanding yourself into freedom. As you grow in acceptance, you may discover an unexpected tenderness toward your whole life. even the painful parts. Not because they were good, but because they shaped your seeing. The people who failed you taught you about expectation. The losses taught you impermanence. The loneliness taught you refuge. The body taught you humility. The mistakes taught you compassion. The delays taught you patience. The betrayals taught you discernment. The regrets taught you sincerity. Nothing has to be wasted if it becomes wisdom, but do not rush to call everything a blessing before you have truly felt it. That can become spiritual dishonesty. Some things were painful, unfair, harmful. Admit that. Then ask, can this also become part of awakening? Not because the pain was good, but because your response can become wise. This is how suffering is transformed without being denied. You may also need to release the idea that peace means never feeling pain again. Peace is not numbness. Peace is the capacity to stay present with life without being shattered by every wave. A peaceful elder may still cry, may still miss someone, may still feel fear, may still have hard days. But beneath it, there is less resistance, less hatred, less panic, less need to turn every pain into a story of abandonment. That is real peace. Do not chase an unrealistic peace that makes you ashamed of being human. Practice a grounded peace, a peace that breathes while crying, a peace that forgives slowly, a peace that can say, "This hurts," without adding, "Life is meaningless," a peace that can sit with imperfection, a peace that can hold both gratitude and grief in the same heart. This is mature Buddhism, not escaping the human condition, but awakening within it. Old age is one of the most human conditions. It humbles the body, it reveals dependence, it brings endings closer, it exposes attachments, it forces honesty. Therefore, it is also one of the most powerful fields of practice. If you can bring awareness here, you are practicing where it matters most. Do not envy those who seem to avoid these lessons. No one avoids impermanence forever. Some people meet it later, suddenly, violently, unprepared. You are meeting it now, with the chance to become conscious. That is difficult, but it is also precious. Use the difficulty. Let every sign of aging say, "Practice now." Let every goodbye say, "Love now." Let every disappointment say, "Detach now." Let every regret say, "Awaken now." Let every quiet day say, "Return now." Let every breath say, "Release now." This is how ordinary old age becomes sacred training. And as you practice, you may notice that needing people begins to change into appreciating people. This is a major shift. Neediness has fear inside it. Appreciation has freedom inside it. Neediness says, "You must fill me." Appreciation says, "Your presence is a gift." Neediness says, "Stay so I do not feel empty." Appreciation says, "Thank you for being here now." Neediness creates pressure. Appreciation creates warmth. People can feel the difference. When you appreciate rather than demand, relationships soften. People may still be imperfect, but the space around love becomes less tense. You stop turning every interaction into proof. You stop testing people. You stop punishing them before they even speak. You stop greeting them with the weight of all previous absences. This does not mean hiding pain. It means not making pain the only language. Let your language become more spacious. Say, "I miss you," instead of, "You never care." Say, "I feel lonely sometimes," instead of, "You have abandoned me." Say, "It would mean a lot to hear from you," instead of, "After all I did, this is what I get." Say, "I am grateful you came," before discussing what hurt. This is not weakness, it is skillful speech. Skillful speech can save love from becoming a battlefield. But remember, skillful speech does not guarantee the response you want. Some people still may not respond well. That is their karma, their conditioning, their capacity. Your practice is to speak from clarity and release the result. This is difficult because the ego wants guaranteed outcomes. Buddhism offers wise action, not guaranteed control. Act well, release the fruit. This teaching is essential in old age because the desire for outcomes becomes intense. You want the family healed before you die. You want everyone to understand. You want final peace arranged externally. But you cannot force the fruit. You can plant seeds. Some may grow after you are gone. Some may never grow. Plant anyway. Plant forgiveness. Plant kindness. Plant truth. Plant simplicity. Plant gratitude, plant acceptance, then release. The gardener does not pull the plant upward every hour to make it grow faster. In the same way, do not keep pulling on people's hearts. Offer conditions. Give light where you can. Give water where appropriate. But growth has its own timing. This applies to your own heart too. Do not demand instant enlightenment. Plant the conditions. Sit, breathe. Reflect, forgive, simplify, practice. Over time, the soil changes. Some seeds in your heart may have been buried for decades. Seeds of tenderness, seeds of trust, seeds of joy, seeds of silence, seeds of compassion. They may still grow if watered now. Do not assume the garden is finished because the season is late. Late flowers are still flowers. Let late wisdom bloom. There is a special beauty in someone who wakes up late but sincerely. They carry humility because they know they slept long. They carry urgency because they know time is short. They carry compassion because they know how easy it is to be lost. They do not pretend. They do not lecture from superiority. They speak from experience. I suffered because I clung. I hurt because I demanded. I wasted years in resentment. Now I choose another way. This honesty can help others more than polished perfection. Maybe your final years can become this honest teaching. You do not need a stage. You do not need a large audience. One conversation can matter. One apology can matter. One change in your tone can matter. One peaceful response can break a long family pattern. One moment of not reacting can become a turning point. Do not underestimate the invisible influence of sincere practice. At the same time, accept that some people may only remember your old version. They may not trust your change immediately. They may still react to who you used to be. Be patient. You cannot demand that others instantly forget the pain you may have caused. If you are changing, let consistency speak. Do not say, "I am different now," with anger because they are cautious. Live differently. Over time, truth becomes visible, and if it does not, continue anyway. Practice is not a transaction. Do not become peaceful only if others reward your peace. This is important. The ego can turn spirituality into another bargain. I practiced, so my family should appreciate me. I forgave, so they should come closer. I became calm, so life should become easy. No, practice reduces your suffering and purifies your actions. It does not force the world to obey. Keep practicing, because practice is freedom in itself. The reward of peace is peace, not applause, not control, not guaranteed affection. Peace itself is already precious. When you understand this, your practice becomes stable. You are no longer constantly checking whether others noticed your growth. You are no longer disappointed if your kindness is not praised. You are no longer secretly using spirituality to get emotional repayment. You become sincere. Sincerity is rare and powerful. In old age, sincerity matters more than image. You do not need to appear wise. Be wise where nobody sees. You do not need to appear spiritual. Practice when you are irritated. You do not need to appear loving. Stop speaking poison. You do not need to appear detached. Release one expectation. You do not need to appear peaceful. Stop feeding the war inside. Let truth replace appearance. This is one of the gifts of aging, the opportunity to stop performing. You have performed enough. Strong one, responsible one, sacrificing one, successful one, good parent, good spouse, good friend, wise elder, spiritual person. Let the performance soften. Be real, be human, be awake. If you are sad, no sadness. If you are afraid, no fear. If you are clinging, no clinging. If you are grateful, no gratitude. Knowing is more important than pretending. The mind that pretends cannot heal because it is defending an image. The mind that knows can change because it is in contact with truth. Let your old age be truthful. Truthful about loneliness. Truthful about love. Truthful about resentment. Truthful about dependence. Truthful about mistakes. Truthful about death. Truthful about what still brings joy. Truthful about what must be released. This truthfulness is not harsh when held with compassion. It is clean, and cleanliness is what the final chapter needs. Clean speech, clean intentions, clean surroundings, clean relationships where possible, clean boundaries where necessary, clean grief, clean gratitude, clean preparation, clean letting go. Do not confuse clean with perfect. Clean means less mixed with poison. A clean sadness does not blame everyone. A clean need asks without manipulation. A clean goodbye honors love without clinging. A clean memory remembers without hatred. A clean boundary protects without cruelty. A clean apology takes responsibility without demanding forgiveness. A clean acceptance bows without despair. This is refined practice. It may take the rest of your life. Good. Let the rest of your life be used for something worthy. Because what else will you do with these years? Repeat the same complaints. Chase the same unavailable people. Fear the same future. Argue with the same past. Hate the same body. Count the same disappointments. You have already tried those paths. Be honest. Did they bring peace? If not, change paths. Not tomorrow, now. The path of awareness may feel unfamiliar, but so did suffering once. You practiced suffering until it became familiar. Now practice peace until peace becomes more familiar. The mind learns through repetition. Give it new repetition. Each morning, remember impermanence. Each afternoon, practice gratitude. Each evening, release the day. Before sleep, forgive what you can. What you cannot forgive yet, hold with compassion and say, may this soften in time. When you wake at night, return to the breath. When you speak to family, reduce guilt. When you remember the past, look for the lesson. When the body hurts, add kindness. When fear of death comes, say, let me live this breath well. This is a complete practice. Simple, but not shallow. And slowly, you may feel that old age is no longer only something happening to you. It becomes something you are consciously participating in. You stop being dragged. You begin walking, even if slowly. You stop being only a victim of time. You become a student of time. You stop seeing every loss as theft. You begin seeing some losses as invitations to return to what cannot be stolen by ordinary change. Awareness, compassion, wisdom. Even awareness is not a possession, but it is the doorway through which freedom is known. Return there, again and again. Let the world be unstable. Let awareness know instability. Let the body be aging. Let awareness know aging. Let relationships be changing. Let awareness know changing. Let fear arise. Let awareness know fear. Let peace arise. Let awareness know peace. This knowing does not stop life from moving, but it stops you from being completely lost in the movement. And maybe that is the peace you were looking for all along. Not a life where nothing changes, not a family where nobody disappoints, not a body that never weakens, not a future without death, but a mind that can meet change without hatred, a heart that can love without chains, a presence that can sit in the middle of impermanence and still whisper, I am here, I am breathing, I am learning, I am releasing. That is enough. In the end, you may discover that the 8 things were never separate. A peaceful mind needs detachment. Detachment needs acceptance of impermanence. A daily refuge supports forgiveness. Forgiveness creates simplicity inside the heart. Simplicity makes gratitude easier. Gratitude strengthens purpose. Purpose helps health discipline. Boundaries protect all of them, and all of them together prepare you for the final letting go. This is not a list. It is a way of living, a way of aging, a way of leaving, and before leaving, a way of truly being here. So be here, not in the childhood that is gone, not in the youth that cannot return, not in the family story that did not unfold as planned, not in the apology that never came, not in the future you fear. Be here, in this old body, this breath, this moment, this chance to become free. The present moment may not look grand, but it is the only doorway. Do not reject the doorway because it is ordinary. Enlightenment does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it begins when an old person sitting alone chooses not to believe the thought, "I have been abandoned." Sometimes it begins when they breathe instead of complain. Sometimes it begins when they whisper, "May all beings be free from suffering," and include the people who hurt them. Sometimes it begins when they unclench their hand. Small doorways, vast freedom, walk through. And when the mind returns to old habits, walk through again. There is no shame in returning many times. The shame would be refusing to return at all. Your final years are not punishment, they are practice. They are not empty, they are asking for awareness. They are not useless. They can become the most honest years you have lived. They are not merely about waiting for death. They are about learning how to release fear before death arrives. Do not waste them waiting for everyone else to change. Do not waste them rehearsing the pain. Do not waste them making loneliness your identity. Do not waste them hating the mirror. Do not waste them tightening around what is already slipping through the fingers. Use them. Use them to become lighter. Use them to become kinder. Use them to become clearer. Use them to become free. And if one day, near the end, you find yourself with only the breath, then let the breath be enough. The breath has been with you from the beginning. It entered when you did not know your own name. It stayed through childhood, youth, work, love, grief, anger, sleep, illness, and aging. It has taught impermanence every moment. It comes, it goes. It comes, it goes. Finally, one day, it will go and not return. Until then, honor it. Let every breath be a teacher. Breathing in, receive life. Breathing out, release clinging. Breathing in, soften. Breathing out, forgive. Breathing in, know this moment. Breathing out, let it go. This is the whole path in the body. You do not need to understand every scripture before you practice this. You do not need perfect concentration. You do not need a perfect past. You need sincerity. You need willingness. You need the courage to stop running from the truth. The truth is that old age takes many things, but it can also give one thing that youth often lacks, the urgency to awaken. Take that gift seriously. Do not throw it away because it came wrapped in wrinkles, pain, and silence. Sometimes the deepest gifts arrive in forms the ego does not like. Aging is such a gift if met wisely. It removes illusions. It reveals attachments. It exposes the temporary nature of roles. It makes time precious. It humbles pride. It invites forgiveness. It sharpens gratitude. It prepares the heart for release. But if met unconsciously, aging becomes bitterness. So choose how you meet it. This choice is not total control over life. It is the choice of relationship. You cannot choose every condition, but you can train how you relate to conditions. That training is the path. That training is dignity. That training is freedom. When the house is quiet, train. When family is imperfect, train. When health is uncertain, train. When memories return, train. When fear rises, train. When gratitude appears, train. when the final season deepens, train. Train not like a soldier fighting life, but like a monk returning to truth. Gentle, steady, honest. And let the final message of your life be not, I was abandoned, but I learned to stop abandoning myself. Not, people did not give me enough, but I discovered what no person could give or take. Not, old age destroyed me, but old age stripped me down until I could see clearly. Not, death is stealing everything, but everything was always temporary, and now I release with as much awareness as I can. This is a noble ending, not because it is painless, because it is awake. And if your ending is awake, then your final years have served their highest purpose. You have not merely grown old, you have ripened. You have not merely lost, you have learned what cannot be held. You have not merely become quiet, you have discovered the depth inside silence. You have not merely approached death, you have practiced letting go while still alive. And that is why, in old age, you do not need more people to distract you from the truth. You need the wisdom to meet the truth. You need a peaceful mind. You need detachment. You need refuge. You need discipline. You need purpose. You need forgiveness. You need simplicity. You need gratitude. You need boundaries. You need acceptance of impermanence. With these, even a quiet final chapter can shine. Without these, even a crowded final chapter can feel empty. So choose what truly protects peace. Choose what remains meaningful when applause fades. Choose what supports you when the phone is silent. Choose what steadies you when the body trembles. Choose what softens you when memory hurts. Choose what prepares you when death whispers. Choose the path. The path is still open, even now, especially now, and as long as one breath remains, the possibility of awakening remains with it.